It's a football Friday. That's right. We're back at it. The Sean O'Connell Show on ESPN 792.1 FM. I'm not Sean O'Connell. I'm Brice Larson, along with my partner in crime, Jordan Bianucci. Jordan, glad to see you this beautiful morning. How are we?
I'm doing great. I'm used to waking up at 5 o'clock to do our morning show. Woke up at like 7:30 today. Oh,
Yeah, I'm bringing the energy because I am well rested.
I was exhausted yesterday. I feel great today.
And, of course, James Peterson behind the glass. James, always glad to see you on a Friday.
Yeah, let's go. Football Friday. Sleeping in for you guys.
Woo.
Come on now.
There's nothing better
What a great
than that.
day.
We are
Utah
going-
and Morgantown tomorrow. Hopefully a win. The betting line keeps going up. We'll talk to Lee Sterling later about that as we do on Fridays. I mean, I don't know about you guys. That seems to indicate to me that there's not much concern about Devin's ankle like there was internally, at least, going into the Texas Tech game. But we shall see.
No doubt. We'll give you more on that Utah and West Virginia matchup coming up here in just a couple of minutes. Want to remind you, the Sean O'Connell Show is brought to you by Big Willie's Bar. Make sure you check them out. And let's take a look at who we're going to have on the program today. None other than the voice of the Utes, Bill Riley. He'll join us coming up at 11:30 here this morning. We'll talk about the availability report that was dropped just the other night. We'll tell you the updates there and more. And we'll just ask him how West Virginia looks this time of year. I hear it's beautiful out there in Morgantown. Our friend Paul Pugmire is going to stop by. We're currently taking a look at the Ryder Cup on our screen here in the studio, and we'll keep you up to date with what's happening in the world of golf with Paul Pugmire from Utah Golf Radio at about 12. And then Lee Sterling, as you mentioned, James Peterson. Lee Sterling's going to stop by from Paramount Sports, and we're going to talk a couple of betting lines. And if you join us on Brice and Bianucci, you know myself and Jordan Bianucci, we love ourselves some betting lines on a Friday. We do the Brice is Right with the Price is Right music behind it. And we make our picks and predictions for the weekend. And you missed that if you didn't tune in this morning on 103.9 or 98.3 FM.
We lose a lot of hypothetical cash. A lot of hypothetical cash.
Make an upset pick of the weekend, too.
Don't forget also Coordinator's Corner, Morgan Scally at 1 o'clock. That, of course, we were able to record earlier before OC left on his trip to France for PFL fights. So we bring that to you, OC, with the defensive coordinator at 1 o'clock as well.
That's exactly right. Morgan Scally will come your way at 1 p.m., and then the airing of grievances. And Jordan, you're a guy that airs a lot of grievances throughout the week, so I'm excited to see what you have prepared.
Yeah, you're a guy that likes to complain. You're super annoying. I do.
I didn't come out and say that right away.
No, you inferred it. James and I were talking before the show. I complain all week on that show. You're right. And then as soon as you're like, "Hey, give us some grievances," I'm like, "I'm pretty good. I feel good. Everything's fine.
I'm okay."
Yeah. What do you mean grievances?
The room's not on fire.
No,
Nothing's burning.
No, I'll unload during that segment.
I've got one that pertains to something that's happening in downtown Salt Lake this weekend.
Really? Oh,
yes.
Oh, I know what you're talking about. Okay,
and I'll save it. That's a tease for later on.
Better make sure they're not a sponsor.
That's a tease for something that's coming up later on, but we'll get to that later on here on the Sean O'Connell Show. You can listen to us live on that Listen Live tab at ESPN700sports.com. Of course, download the ESPN 700 app. It's completely free wherever you get your apps. Just tap that app, and then you can also tell your smart speaker to play ESPN 700. If you want to see our beautiful smiling faces this morning, you can check it out at ESPN 700 Sports Utah on YouTube. All right, let's jump into our first conversation this morning. Of course, your Utah Utes are on the road at West Virginia in Morgantown this weekend. A West Virginia team that's coming off of a battering and a beatdown by the Kansas Jayhawks. Now, if I told you that 5 or 10 years ago, you would have said, what? Isn't it crazy how much college football can change just within 5 to 10 years?
You would have said, what, Bob Huggins ran up the score? And what is this, January?
Bob Huggins. Yeah, no kidding. Kansas used to be one of the worst football teams in all of college football. And now they've flipped it around. And West Virginia used to have guys like Tavon Austin, who we go back and watch his highlights, the greatest highlight reel in the world. People still watch his highlights. Will Grier, a former West Virginia quarterback who led West Virginia to a lot of great wins. I remember that overtime win against Texas, that it was a high-scoring affair. Oh, how the turntables have turned, my friend. 41-10, Kansas beat down West Virginia. West Virginia, of course, kind of rebuilding under Rich Rod, first-year head coach. But I do want to tell you some stats from this game, Jordan, that make me feel good about what Utah's about to go face.
Okay.
Kansas rushed the ball 39 times.
Wow.
For 259 yards.
All right, that makes you feel good.
LaShawn Williams had 19 carries, 129 yards, and averaged 6.8 yards per carry.
He'll take it. Yeah.
The number 2 rusher for the Kansas Jayhawks was one Jalen Daniels, their quarterback. Carried it 5 times for 69 yards. 13.8 yards per average. That's nice. That's very nice. So Jordan Bianucci, his longest was 28 yards. My question to you is that there's Devin Dampier injury questions. How's the ankle? He was on – he didn't practice last week. There's a big debate going on right now in the Utah fan base. Should Devin Dampier be running the football? Should he not be running the football? What say you?
Well, one of the reasons you went out and got Dampier is so he can run the football. It's a huge part of his game. I don't love running him more than you have to, but that's for Jason Beck to figure out. Like, that's nitpicking. But no, that's a big part of his game. He has to run a little bit because you have to make the defense account for him. You have to make him realize he is going to run, so it opens up other things. So but I'm the same guy that'll come on here Monday and go, it took a lot of hits. I don't like that. Took a lot of hits. So no, but he does. No, he has to run the ball.
You have to keep him upright. I think it's a huge part of that offense for Devin Dampier to run the football. Now, what's the correct amount of times that he should run the football? Look, if you're playing against a West Virginia team and you look at what Kansas was able to do, now it's a little bit different of an offensive scheme, okay? In fact, I love the way that Lance Leipold runs that offense. Had a former offensive coordinator, Andy Kotelnicki, who went on to Penn State, Penn State has a big game this weekend. And you'll watch the best, in my opinion, the best offensive coordinator in the entire nation, Andy Kotelnicki, at Penn State, work his magic against Oregon this weekend. We'll talk about that later. Kansas still runs a lot of that same scheme. Essentially a triple option scheme, but you can throw the ball out of it. And it's a pistol formation where you've got a loaded house in the backfield. I won't get into too much nerdy details on that. But Jordan Bianucci, the way that Utah needs to do this is running Devin Dampier the perfect amount of times.
Yeah, what's that sweet spot?
The sweet spot, if you are looking at what Jalen Daniels was able to do, 5 carries, 69 yards, he averaged 13.8 yards per carry. What you have to do here is allow your running backs, Wayshawn Parker, Nakari Rogers, to really gain that on the ground. Kai Whittingham said they want to run more between the tackles instead of towards the sidelines. I think you're going to see a lot of ground and pound this weekend and really force West Virginia to stop the run. Yeah. And then you can do things off of that. Maybe line it up in a tighter package. You're going to get a bootleg off of it, run Devin Dampier outside, and get him going to the sideline instead of maybe continually running the ball right through those tackles. You can start to create things off of that run game.
Well, yeah, go ahead.
The amount of times that Devin Dampier should run the football is probably no more than 10. That's probably maybe not even more than 8 times.
Okay.
As long as they're being effective in that run game. And, I mean, if he's like Jalen Daniels and can average 13.8 yards per carry, yeah, then maybe you don't even have to run him more than 8 times. But the question still hangs. Look, I'm not worried about Devin Dampier because you look at his build, 5'11", 204 pounds. What are the 2 running backs at right now, Jordan? Wayshawn Parker, 5'10", 206 pounds. Nakari Rogers, 5'10", 205 pounds. They're the exact same build.
Yes, yeah.
Devin Dampier is a running back that can throw the football.
Yeah, but he's more valuable than your running backs. Because he's the quarterback. He's your season. If Dampier goes down, season's not over, but we're back to where we were last year.
You're not a Bird Ficklin believer.
Well, I don't know anything about Bird Ficklin. We haven't seen much of Bird Ficklin. No, you got to keep your quarterback healthy. That's to me why I don't buy that analogy completely, because it just takes one hit. It takes one hit, and you're in trouble. Look, don't get me wrong, you don't want to lose running backs to injury, but you can more afford to lose them than you can your starting quarterback.
Now, it also depends on if you trust Devin Dampier to protect himself. What do I mean by that? Go back and watch the Texas Tech football game. And if I'm the Texas Tech coaching staff, I don't trust Baron Morton to protect himself.
Oh, man.
If he, that was brutal. And I don't know if it was – look, I don't want to kill the kid. He got injured, right? But the way that he was running the football, it was mind-boggling. Dude, slide.
Yeah.
Get out of the way of guys that are going to come in and try and hurt you. Now, that one, he was going down on that one hit that he took to the head, and he slammed his head against the turf. So not much you can do about that. Get out of bounds, young man. Stop taking hits. You don't have to be Superman. So if there's one thing that I could say, if I was the coaching staff at Utah, I'd flip that film back on. If I'm Jason Beck, and I'd say, Devin Dampier, this is what you do not do as a quarterback. You're not Superman. You're not the impenetrable man of steel.
You're too valuable. We don't need you to. The worst thing that can happen, the selfish thing to do, is to take the hit, because you are
That's
too
right.
valuable to the team.
Slide, and better yet, get out of bounds. Get your yards and get out of bounds. Do not take unnecessary hits. That's a huge part of all of this conversation. So you have to trust your quarterback to be smart about it. I think Devin Dampier is smart about it. Problem is that last week he was trying to run and cut it up maybe a little bit too quick. There was a lot of opportunities there that were kind of stymied by a very good Texas Tech defense. So the question is, how often should Devin Dampier run the football? What's the correct amount? You can hit us on the text in line with your thoughts about Devin Dampier running the football. 877-353-0700 is that text in line here this morning. I'm just of the opinion you have to use him in that run game a little bit more. And he's been doing a good job so far. As long as he's being effective, you can continue to use him. If the quarterback run game's not being effective, don't run him, because that's obvious. That should be obvious. So
That's not the way coaches think, though. That they will. Well, it's not. If it's no, the players just got to execute. Just got to execute. I don't know. Do coaches think that? I don't.
Here's the thing, though. You go back and watch that Kyle Whittingham press conference, and there was a question that was asked that was posed to Kyle Whittingham about the downfield passing game.
Mm-hmm.
And he named a lot of different things, but you could tell the way that he's talking, because he did put a little bit of it on Devin Dampier. He did put a little bit of it on the inability to not have penalties on those big plays. He kind of spread the love around a little bit. You could tell he was specifically trying not to throw the wide receivers under the bus. When he knew, if you go back and watch the film, there's a lot of pressure on these wide receivers to get open. There's a lot of pressure on these wide receivers to run crisp routes, to beat their men, and to not get manhandled, to be more physical, and to get open for the quarterback.
Yeah.
And he didn't want to throw him under the bus. So I think to the media, which is good by Kyle Whittingham, you don't want to do that as head coach. There are times and places that you can call guys out, and maybe that's later on in the season if this continues. But I don't think that was the time or place to do it. I think that's why Kyle Whittingham kind of sat back and said, yeah, it's kind of all of our fault right now.
This game, what will be interesting to me is I'm afraid, and this is a good thing if you're Utah, frankly, that West Virginia's defense is so porous when it comes to the run that Utah may not have to throw the ball hardly at all.
Right.
And I don't think they're going to have to rely on that big play in this game. I think the offensive line is going to show up and dominate, and I think they're going to run the ball really well and win that way. So I don't know. That's the other aspect of this is I want to see a multiple score win from Utah and for them to dominate in the trenches. But we're not going to get an answer this week on, hey, can the receivers get open, and is the big play being featured? Like, are they able to find those chunk plays? Because I don't think that's going to be necessary for them this week.
Now, if you take a look at that back at the Kansas and West Virginia game, Jalen Daniels threw it 24 times in that football game, so not a ton. 12 of 24 was what his stat line was. 138 yards. He averaged about 5.8 through the air. Did throw 3 touchdown passes.
Yeah, 12.
So it seems like the rushing attack got him across the field, and then when they got down near the goal line, it was Jalen Daniels throwing some touchdown passes because, and there was a couple that went for pretty long throws. Levi Wentz, his only catch was 41 yards. LaShawn Williams, his only catch was 39 yards. So if you get guys open in space, I think West Virginia struggles in open field tackling. I think a lot of their defenders have a problem. So if you can leak Nakari Rogers or Wayshawn Parker out of the backfield and just dump it off to him and see if you can get him in space and getting up the field and make it a move, maybe you can break one for a long run. We've seen that with a couple of these guys throughout the season. But, yeah, I'm not so sure that whatever happens this weekend, if Utah rolls, that we'll learn a lot more about this Utah team just because of the way West Virginia is right now.
Yeah, and, I mean, we may see more bubble screens. I know the Utah crowd was loving that on Saturday. It'll be interesting to see if West Virginia brings everybody up and packs the box. Can Utah still dominate running the football like they have? I think they probably still can.
They should.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. Yeah,
that's what I'll put.
Yeah,
against West Virginia, you should be able to dominate.
That's how bad West Virginia's been.
And West Virginia's a Power 4 team, so you got to give them some respect, right? Mm-hmm. And it's still Rich Rod.
Yeah, I mean, look, they beat Pitt.
At the same time, if you are the team you think you are, and you thought you were coming into this preseason, you should dominate. There's a reason why the spread has gone from 9.5 when it opened, and now in places you could see it at 12.5, 13.5. There's a reason for that. A lot of people believe Utah's going to go into West Virginia and have their way with the Mountaineers.
And you know that all week that's what Kyle Whittingham has been preaching, was we are going to dominate in the trenches. Because they got beat last week in the trenches, and that doesn't happen to Utah. It does not happen. So I think you're right. I think they're going to come out with gusto, and they're going to be ready to go. But I don't know how much we learn from that, to your point.
I think part of the reason you brought up the bubble screens and the sideline to sideline, part of the reason we saw that was because, yeah, maybe packing the box, had an extra man. But the way that teams want to attack Utah on offense is not on the tackles. They know that Utah has two great tackles along that offensive line. It's going to be tough to tackle to pressure the quarterback. So what they want to do is bring the pressure up the middle. You're going to see double A-gap blitzes. That's like a defensive coordinator in college football's favorite trend right now in college football is the double A-gap blitz, especially out of shotgun. And if you have a running back that can't block in the backfield, you're going to get a lot of that. So what's happening is you bring these double A-gap blitzes right up the middle. And what Jason Beck tries to counter it with is, well, let's get the ball away from the middle of the field, throw it to the sideline. Now, that's when having complete athletes on the outside comes in handy, and that's what Texas Tech had. Athletes. Dudes that could beat the block, bad wide receivers that can't block, and really fast safeties that can fly downhill who are already up on the 10-yard line. That's a recipe for disaster for a screenplay. So if West Virginia has the same on the back end, maybe screenplays out to the sideline aren't going to work. But if they're bringing pressure up the middle, you might see that again this weekend. We'll see. But that's where Utah, when they line up, they have to win inside the middle. You have to be able to win the numbers game and get up to the second level with your guards and your tackles and win that blocking scheme to run it right up the gut.
And that's why it worries me the first three games being fool's gold, because how much time did Dampier have in those first three games? I mean, he was rarely was he under pressure, and when he was, he would just escape. But that's where I got to see that again from Utah against a Power 4 team. We saw, Cal Poly, or UCLA, technically a Power 4 team. But I want to see it against a better team. That's why is West Virginia better than UCLA? They are, right?
That's a great question. They've got to be.
They have to be.
I think with the win over Pitt, they have a Power 4 win. Pitt's not great. The ACC has kind of turned out to be a dud this year. We'll see how they end up the rest of the season. But they lost to Ohio too.
I know. That's why.
Ohio, I'm not hating on the MAC. I love MAC football. If you know me and you listen to Brice and Bianucci, I am a G5 and an FCS stan. Okay, I watch a lot of college football. I watch the MAC in Maction on Wednesday nights in the middle of November.
You love the MAC a little too much. A little too much.
So I'm not hating on these teams. Ohio's a good football team. But at the same time, if you are West Virginia and Rich Rodriguez, you can't lose to Ohio.
Yeah. It's a different level of football.
We're not talking about Ohio State.
No.
We're talking about Ohio.
The Bobcats.
We're not talking about Miami of Ohio. We're talking about Ohio.
UCLA is still pretty bad.
UCLA is bad, Jordan. There's a couple teams in Power 4 that probably shouldn't be Power 4 teams. Yeah. They're the doormats of college football is what we call them. Vanderbilt used to be one.
Yeah.
And look at that. They've turned it around.
So is Dampier, so I think he's going to have plenty of time. They made, wide receivers, we'll see if they can get open, but I don't think he's going to be under a ton of pressure.
That was my next question for you. Having plenty of time for Devin Dampier, is that a good thing?
Yeah. Yeah.
Is that a good thing? Because we've seen him get himself into a little bit of trouble when he has too much time to run around, and then he throws it downfield, and that's the interception we saw against Texas Tech. He ran around, had too much time, went to the sideline, and still decided to make that bad decision to throw it up, and it got picked off down the field.
Yeah, but was that a third down? Wasn't he trying to just make, or
I can't remember.
I think so. I think he was just trying to force one in.
Yeah, he was trying to make a play, trying to force a play. But having too much time for some quarterbacks that are indecisive might be a bad thing. You want him to be decisive, and here's the reason why I say that, is because if the wide receivers, like people in their cars are probably screaming at me right now saying, what are you talking about? That can't be a bad thing. It can be a bad thing if the wide receivers can't get open. Because then he's sitting there thinking about, I've got to get rid of this. I've got to get rid of this. I've got to do something with it. And then he makes a bad decision to a wide receiver that's not open because they can't get open, and he throws an interception.
Yeah.
That's when it becomes a bad thing.
Yeah. Well, that's the other thing that I want to see is if Utah's wide receivers can get open against a West Virginia secondary.
Yes.
That isn't great.
I'm curious also how West Virginia plays Utah. I'm curious if they say, okay, maybe our DBs aren't as great as Texas Tech thought theirs were, clearly, and they play them more in a shell because we saw against Kansas they were playing in a 3-high shell. Are they going to bring them up? Because that'll tell you. That'll tell you if West Virginia thinks that their athletes are superior to Utah. It's something to look out for tomorrow. If you see more often than not defensive backs playing man defense that are up on the line and safeties that are brought up 10 yards off the ball in the line of scrimmage, that will tell you that Rich Rod and West Virginia truly believe that their athletes are just better than Utah's athletes on offense.
And that's a problem.
And if you can't beat them, that's a problem.
Yeah.
If you can beat them,
yeah,
you don't have a problem.
If I'm West Virginia, though, and any defense playing Utah so far this year, I am doing that to begin. I make them prove that they can beat us. Yes. At this point, absolutely.
And then you bring the pressure up the middle.
Yes,
that's the key to beating Utah right now.
Well, gee, put us on a coaching staff. It's unbelievable. we're just giving out answers for free here.
Yeah, okay. That's why I'm sitting here in this seat talking on the radio. Give us your thoughts here, 877-353-0700. It's Brice and Bianucci in for the one and only Sean O'Connell. He'll be back on a Monday edition of the program, but today it's a Football Friday, so we're going to take you through all things college football, your beloved Utah Utes. Coming up next, we're going to talk with the voice of the Utes, Bill Riley, right here on the Sean O'Connell Show. We want to remind you that the Sean O'Connell Show is now brought to you proudly by Big Willie's Sports Bar in Salt Lake. From craft food to craft cocktails, they are the sports bar. Check them out today, 1717 South Main Street. We will take a break. We will come back on the other side with the voice of the Utes. That's one Bill Riley right here on Utah's #1 sports talk, ESPN 700 and 92.1 FM. Welcome back into the Sean O'Connell Show. I'm Brice Larson alongside Jordan Bianucci. You can find us over on the brother station, 103.9 and 98.3 ESPN The Fan, every weekday morning from 7 to 10 a.m. Happy to fill in for one Sean O'Connell as he is out and about this weekend. We're going to get into a conversation about your Utah Utes with the voice of the Utes. That's Bill Riley. This conversation is brought to you by our friends over at Handy and Handy. So let's jump out to the ESPN 700 hotline and welcome him in. Bill, appreciate you jumping on with us for a couple minutes. How are things going?
Good, guys. Thanks for having me on. Good to hear from you.
No problem. How's Morgantown this part of this time of year? How are things going out there?
It's muggy today. It's been raining here for a while, so it's a little muggy out here. It's a little rain in the forecast next couple of days, but fall leaves are changing. Not too bad.
Have you been able to get out and get around Morgantown? Have you been out there for basketball before? Or is this your first time out there?
Nope, I was there for basketball in the spring as well. So I've been here one other time.
All right. Have you been able to get out to Primanti Brothers or Pepe's?
I've been to Pittsburgh a number of times, so I've had a Primanti Brothers sandwich before.
Oh.
So yes, they're unique.
I like them. I'm a fan, big fan. All right, let's talk some football here, Bill. Utah on the road, coming off of a loss to Texas Tech. Just give us your overall thoughts on this football team and what they need to do to get right against the West Virginia squad that's struggling in their own right this weekend.
Well, I think they went from not playing very good teams in the preseason to playing maybe the best team in the Big 12 last weekend. So I think they were tested. I think for the most part the defense was really good last weekend, but the offense has to be better. I think that's the thing that we know now. Now, you're not going to face a team much better or better than Texas Tech the rest of the regular season, but there's still some things they have to get better on offensively. They have to be a little bit better running the football. I thought the pass protection last weekend was good for Devin, but he's got to be able to make some plays down the field as well. So I think what we learned is Utah's got a really good defense that can stand up with most teams in the league, but they're going to have to be better in league play against teams offensively and have to be able to make some plays and have to be better up front, in the run game too.
Hey, Bill, how would you diagnose the problem Utah's had throwing the ball downfield? Are receivers not getting open, or what have you seen?
I think Devin's. There's been a couple of things. I think Devin's missed some guys last week. Tobias Merriweather was wide open a couple of times, and he missed him. They also had a long ball that was called back. I mean, Jackson Benny got behind the defense, got hit in stride, ran it in for a touchdown, but a penalty called it back. So, they haven't taken a lot of deep shots. The first three games, they really didn't do much of it. When they tried to last weekend, they just missed. The protection's been good. I think Devin's going to have to make some of those throws when he has them, and I think the receivers are going to have to play better, find themselves open a little bit. But, again, Texas Tech invested well, especially on the defensive side of the football. So I think this week there'll be some opportunities to make some plays. West Virginia gave some up against Kansas last weekend. And so if the plays are there, you're not going to make them every time down the field, but you've got to hit on them. You've got to hit on them when those opportunities present themselves 45, 50% of the time. So we'll see if they're better tomorrow.
He joins the Sean O'Connell Show every single Friday at this time. It is Bill Riley, the voice of the Utes, brought to you by Handy and Handy here on ESPN 792.1 FM. Bill, I want to ask you, what's the right amount of number of times that Devin Dampier should be running the football each game? Is there a specific number? Is it a feel thing, especially coming off of an ankle injury in question?
No, I think you play that by feel. I mean, you don't tell him not to run because that's part of who he is. That's why you have him as your quarterback, because he adds that dimension to the game. But I think you have to be smart about it, especially if you're going to have him, playing a little hurt. Everybody plays hurt, but if he's dealing with an injury, you got to dial that back a little bit. So I think what you really would like to do is establish the run game up front with Wayshawn Parker, Nakari Rogers, and see what you can do with that. And then sprinkle in some Devin Dampier, but you can't ask him not to run the football because that's the dimension you brought him here to use. So I think you have to be judicious about it, and I think you see how the game plays out. But I don't think it's like a pitcher in baseball where you put him on a pitch count. I think it really depends on how the game plays out. And sometimes those run plays come off a pass play where nothing's there. So I think you just monitor it and you're smart about it if you're Jason Beck.
Well, we're talking about availability reports. Paul Fitzgerald and Aliki Vimahi both downgraded to out. We heard the news about Hunter Andrews earlier this weekend. Utah's a little beat up right now. How are we feeling about the injury situation just 1 week removed from a bye week next week?
No, I think they're fine. I mean, you don't want to have anybody hurt, but what they've shown you in the first 4 games is they're deep at both the tackle and the defensive end spot. Neither one of those injuries, as best I can tell, are season-ending injuries. So you'll have guys get beat up. But what we've seen through the first 4 games is you've got now you might be down to 4 guys at defensive end. You had 5, and now you might be down to 5 guys at defensive tackle. You had been playing 6. So I think they've got the depth to handle that as long as they're not season-ending stuff.
We heard Kyle Whittingham in his press conference on Monday talk about how he thinks that they ran the ball to the sidelines too much. That they want to try and get it up and down in between the tackles a little bit more this weekend. Do you feel like it's going to be a concerted effort to try and really pound it through the middle of the field and try and run the ball against the West Virginia team that struggled against the run this weekend?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, the reason they couldn't run up front last week was there were 2 gigantic defensive tackles and 2 really good linebackers stuffing that up. Now, that's not an excuse. You still have to find a way to run the football, and Kyle and Jim Harding will both tell you that. But those were the reasons. I don't think West Virginia's personnel is similar to what Texas Tech had. So my expectation is Utah will try to establish the run early in the game and probably try to come straight downhill at West Virginia if they can. They had great success against Wyoming and UCLA and Cal Poly doing that. I think they'd probably like to get back to that because if you can do that, guys, it opens up everything else with the offense.
No doubt about it. One theme that we've seen with this Utah football team is a couple of defensive guys coming over and playing on the offensive side of the football. There's been some conversation about, hey, is it too much? Is it too often? Are these guys too tired to get back on the defensive side of the football? Do you feel like guys like Jackson Benny, Smith Snowden have been playing the right amount of snaps, or do you think that they need to play a little bit less? What is your feel on how they've been playing and how much they've been playing on the offensive side of the football?
No, they're on a snap count. We talked about not having that with Devin Dampier, but these guys are on a snap count. They're playing 65 snaps a game. That's about half of what Travis Hunter played last year. These guys are finely tuned athletes. They're fine with that. What they need to do is start to make some plays when they're on the offensive side of the football. That would be really helpful for Utah. But no, I mean, Benny's been one of the maybe 2 or 3 best players playing both ways for Utah so far this year. So, no, I don't think that they've played too many snaps. I don't. I think they've been very judicious on how they've used both Benny and Snowden and even Lander Barton for that matter.
Is there something to be said about when they come into the game that opposing defenses might know where the ball is going and that it might be a key to opposing defenses that, hey, this guy's coming in, it's probably going to go to them? Or are they doing a good job? Is Jason Beck doing a good job of kind of disguising it and bringing them in on plays that maybe they won't get the ball and it's kind of helping them out on the offensive side?
No, I think they've spread the ball around. Smith Snowden doesn't touch the ball every time he comes in. Neither does Lander Barton or Jackson Benny. They're part of the offense. They're not, this is not the ball is going their way when they're there. You've got the 2 running backs. You've got other receivers. You've got Dallin Bentley and J.J. Buchanan. No, there's other options out there. I don't think that they've been a focal point by any means of the other team's defense, and that's fine if you want to do that because I don't think Devin Dampier has necessarily looked that way. If anything, his 2 favorite targets have been Ryan Davis and Dallin Bentley. Those have been the guys, and those guys are primary offensive players.
Bill Riley's here with us for a couple more minutes. This conversation brought to you by Handy and Handy. Bill, before we let you go, tell us a little bit about this West Virginia team. Utah is familiar with Rich Rodriguez, of course, in their time in the Pac-12. What do you know about Rich Rodriguez and this West Virginia team, and what does Utah need to do to be able to beat him?
Well, they're still trying to figure themselves out. I mean, they brought in 83 new players, guys. 83
Wow.
new players. They're playing 3, 4, and 5 quarterbacks. They're still trying to figure that out. If you're still trying to figure out your quarterback position and you're playing 3 or 4 guys in week 4, you're still trying to figure things out overall with your football team. They're also missing their best receiver and best running back right now, too. So it's certainly a rebuilding year for Rich Rod. He doesn't have, I don't think, his full complement of personnel that he would like to have. When he's had his best teams at Arizona, those were, and even in West Virginia in the early days, this is the second time around, he runs the football. You know, he had Kadeem Carey and others at Arizona. He had Steve Slayton and Pat White here at West Virginia. Those were really, really good football teams. I think he's going to get there because I think he's a heck of a coach, but I don't think they're there yet.
All right, before we let you go, tell us why Handy and Handy is the go-to place if anybody gets in a car crash here.
Well, I've known these guys. I've known Preston and Garrett forever, and they're terrific people, and they're outstanding attorneys as well. Over 40 years combined experience in the courtroom between both those guys. I always say, I hope none of our listeners ever have to call Handy and Handy because that means you've probably been in an accident or somebody in your family's been hurt. So I hope that doesn't happen. But if you have been hurt, you have been in an accident, somebody you care about's been through that, you want people on your side that can do a great job, and that's what Handy and Handy will do for you. So find them online at Handy Love Utah or give them a call. And if you do need that personal injury attorney, Preston and Garrett are the guys to go to.
You heard the man. Check him out at Handy and Handy. Bill, thank you so much for your time this morning, and good luck on the call this weekend.
Thank you, boys. Have a good show.
That is Bill Riley, the voice of the Utes, and Jordan Bianucci sounds pretty confident in the Utes this weekend against a West Virginia squad, as he very well said. Doesn't know what they're doing at quarterback.
No, and he mentioned it. We mentioned it in the first segment. Top running back is out. Top wide receiver is out. This is a game that Utah should control. From beginning to end, they should. And I think they will. I agree. Jason Beck's done a pretty good job using those defensive guys when they bring in Smith Stoughton, Lander Barton, those guys on the offensive side. They have shared the ball. They have. So I like that point that Bill made. I just think if Utah doesn't win this game by 2 or 3 scores, we're going to be here on Monday going, what went wrong? Even if they, that's what we talked to Sean O'Connell yesterday. He said the same thing.
Yeah.
This is a team you got to beat. You got to beat badly,
especially going into a bye week.
Yes,
because you got a lot of things to think about.
A
lot of extra time to sit around and think.
Yeah, and that bye sets up very nicely before ASU. By the way,
it definitely does. Especially we talked about the availability report. Bill didn't seem too fazed about the current injury situation. He said, "No, they're going to be fine," but it does set up nicely that you're going to have some time to go and get healthy before you get into a matchup with Arizona State that is going to be a big one.
Yeah. Oh, it's going to be huge. Get it at home. It gives you not a mulligan, but another shot to beat a good team at home after I still think Texas Tech's the best team in the conference, though.
All right, that was the voice of the Utes, Bill Riley, right here on the Sean O'Connell Show. I'm Brice Larson. That is Jordan Bianucci. Together we're Brice and Bianucci. You can listen to us over on the brother station, 103.9 and 98.3 ESPN The Fan, every single weekday morning from 7 to 10 a.m. Don't worry, we talk about the Utes over there, too. Talk about everything. Major League Baseball, college football, NFL, all of it over on ESPN The Fan during the mornings. We'll take a break. Your hot lunch brought to you by BGR, Burgers Grilled Right. That comes your way next, right here on Utah's #1 sports talk and the home of the Utes, ESPN 700 and 92.1 FM. Really poorly timed bite of the burger from BGR today, right before we come back from break.
What do you mean? I'm doing fine.
Back at it on the Sean O'Connell Show. I'm Brice Larson. That's Jordan Bianucci. You can check us out on X at Larson Sports, LARSON Sports. That's at Jordan Bianucci. And at ESPN 700 Sports. Just barely put a poll out there for you asking you about the amount of times that Devin Dampier should run the football. Go and check it out at Larson Sports. You can also hit us on the text-in line, 877-353-0700. It is time for the Hot Lunch, brought to you by BGR, Burgers Grilled Right. Today, they brought us the works. Jordan, it's lettuce, tomato, cheese, caramelized onions, pickles, and mojo sauce.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
With a side of fries, got the Huckleberry Shake. All right, you've also got the cookies and cream, or is that Oreo Shake?
Oreo Shake. I could get used to this every day. Second day in a row. We got burgers. What
I got
else?
the sweet potato fries over here.
I'm never going home.
It's pretty good.
It's really good.
Guys, I had they brought a pumpkin shake.
Ooh.
Since they were the one that I was the first one to get the food. I
made an executive.
decision. So I'm taking the pumpkin. So the delicious pumpkin shake. Apparently they're known for the Huckleberry Shake. So Brice, we've let you
on the YouTube stream.
You said you really wanted to try the Huckleberry Shake. So you're gonna have to let us know how that tastes there. Oreo's always good. As is pumpkin. If you like pumpkin, you can never go wrong with that. So we already knew those were going to be good. We'll have to hear what you think of the Huckleberry.
Yeah, I love the shake. They got the whipped cream on top. I love that. How's the Huckleberry?
The Huckleberry is actually really good. That's some good stuff right there.
Maybe we made the wrong choice.
Yeah,
Jordan.
no kidding. Jeez.
Dang. The Huckleberry Shake is the way to go. That's the perfect amount of like ice cream mixture to huckleberry flavoring. Some whipped cream on top.
This is coming from the guy, James, who once told me that ice cream is nothing but frozen milk.
That is what it is.
It's not. It's not. That's a key part of it. That's not exclusively what it is.
I'm not actually a big
cream
fan
in there,
of ice
too,
cream,
if I'm not mistaken.
That's right.
if I'm being honest with you.
You're what?
Oh, really?
Not a big fan of ice cream myself.
Wow, hot take.
Okay.
Yeah, this might sound really weird to people. Maybe there's somebody out there that is the same as me here.
I just thought of my grievance.
Ice cream makes my mouth dry after
What?
I eat it.
You're a freak. You're a freak.
And it drives me nuts. I don't know why. There's like a feeling of my mouth is dry after I eat ice cream.
That's why. Yeah. Okay.
And it just drives me nuts.
Are
That's
you
why I don't like ice cream.
Are you a little lactose intolerant, maybe?
I don't think so.
Oh.
Because it doesn't mess with my stomach.
Doesn't
at all.
mess with your stomach. Okay.
Yeah, it just makes my mouth dry, and then it drives me nuts, and I have to drink a bunch of water afterwards. So I don't eat ice cream. But that Huckleberry Shake, oh yeah, that's good.
Did you know Dan Campbell eats 3 pints of ice cream every night?
Every night?
Yeah. I saw an interview.
That's insane.
We'll have to pull it up. You know it's not Ben and Jerry's, but it's like the Italian ice cream. It comes in that transparent little carton. Yeah, he eats 3 of those every night.
Gelatos.
Yes.
Wow.
That can't be good for you.
He's got diabetes in his near future,
Yeah,
probably
no
there.
kidding.
But also super jealous.
Yeah.
That he's able to do that. That man is a unit too, by the way. All right. If you want to get yourself a Huckleberry Shake or one of these the Works burgers, yesterday was the Oktoberfest burger, which I will stand by. Like the Oktoberfest burger is the best burger I've ever had in my life, with a bratwurst split in half, sauerkraut, all of the stuff on top of it.
Pretzel bun.
The pretzel bun.
Oh.
If you want to go and get one yourself, mention that you heard us talking about this today on ESPN 700. You'll get 10% off your next meal at BGR, Burgers Grilled Right. They're located at 1202 Wilmington Avenue in Sugar House. That's 1202 Wilmington Avenue in Sugar House. We'll also be giving away a $10 gift card to BGR later in the show during Topical Trivia, so make sure you're paying attention for the rest of this program here this morning. Jordan Bianucci, I asked the question, put it out on X. In our poll of the day, how often should Devin Dampier be running the football? I just asked Bill Riley, the voice of the Utes, about it. He said he shouldn't be on a pitch count, shouldn't be on a snap count type of idea. it's a feel. How's the ankle feeling, Devin Dampier? How are you feeling cutting on it? How are you feeling running the football? What are your thoughts? Is there a certain number? Is there a certain way that Utah should run this? And should he be running the football at all? Are you worried about him getting hurt?
I mean, I'm always worried about a running quarterback getting hurt, but there shouldn't be a number. No, this is why you brought him in. It's a key part of his game. This is not like a dude that's a pocket passer just scrambling every once in a while. No, you brought him in because of his legs. It's a huge part. So no, there's not a number. But yeah, sure. Anytime your quarterback's running, I'm a little worried about it. But no, it's Phil. It absolutely is Phil. I can't put a number on it.
Couple of text messages popping in across the text-in line at 877-353-0700. Texter 1624 saying, as much as he wants, as long as it's a wide-open run where he can just go down. No more 3-yard runs where he gets hurt or gets hit.
But that's the problem, is he's going to have 3-yard runs where he gets hit because some of them are designed runs. It's not always going to be wide open. But I share the concern. Absolutely.
Texter 5305 saying, coming off the ankle injury, I would say less than 5. I mean, look, this weekend specifically, I think this is the perfect weekend to get Devin Dampier back healthy.
Yeah.
I think when you're heading into the bye week, it gives him that extra week to be able to be even more ready because you're going to need him to run the football against an Arizona State team. Do your best to win in the trenches against Arizona State. Run the ball between the tackles with Wayshawn Parker, Nakari Rogers, right up the middle.
You mean West Virginia?
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah.
Who did I say?
Arizona State.
My bad. Against West Virginia this weekend.
Just looking ahead.
Arizona State in 2 weeks.
Yeah. Both of them.
You know what I was talking about.
No, I just want to be clear.
Do your best to run the football between the tackles against West Virginia this weekend.
Mm-hmm.
With Nakari Rogers, Wayshawn Parker. Take that load off of Devin Dampier in the run game.
Yeah.
And then get him healthy and get him ready and right to go against an Arizona State squad after the bye week because you're going to need him to run the football then.
Yeah. Start fast tomorrow. Have a good, clean first half. So for all of our sakes, so we don't have heartburn in that second half. But also, because a team like West
maybe
Virginia,
we can see some Bird Ficklin.
Absolutely,
in the second half.
Absolutely, but honestly, Brice, maybe not because you have the bye week. Maybe you want the reps out there with this offense. Because that's another thing. They haven't spent that much time together. If we're, relative to a good, solid college football offense that has had the same quarterback for 2 or 3 years, that doesn't happen that often anymore, I suppose.
Sure.
But no, get out to a big, nice, fast start and then cruise the rest of the way. Allows you to do some things that you want to do, but just that's what I'm looking for. A sloppy start concerns me.
Yeah, not a 3-0, 3-0 at half versus Wyoming situation here. Like let's get a touchdown or two by halftime at the very least. And for goodness sakes, Dylan Curtis, we love you, true freshman, huge leg, but please no more missed field goals.
That's where I was going next. Are we worried about the kicking game?
Yeah, I'm a little worried about the kicking game.
We're worried about us being able to kick some field goals, being able to hit them. What's going on here?
Yeah, he's just been – he's true freshman, so you have to take that into account. But at the same time, if you're given the starting kicking duties, you've got to be reliable. And unfortunately, that has not been the case for Dylan Curtis. Now, the leg excites you, how far he can hit a field goal from that. His first career field goal from 54 yards, guys.
Yeah.
And that's still a long ways in college. That's not near as long as it used to be in the NFL, but it's the over 50 yards is still really impressive in college. He's got that kind of length, I guess is the way you'd say it. But you just put it between the sticks, man. We got to get a lot more accuracy from our guy Dylan Curtis because we've seen in this offense it can be very good and get you into the red zone just about every time. At times, there's other times when it tends to stall, and you can't afford to leave points off the board because you missed the field goal when the offense stalls a little bit too early. So I am a little bit concerned about that.
We've become so spoiled watching the NFL because you're right. Like, dudes in the NFL, it's a 57-yarder, and you're like, game over.
I was going to ask you about that today because I was driving home last night from Utah Valley soccer game that I called last night at UVU, and I was listening to the Westwood One broadcast on my way home right here on ESPN 700, and they had said Arizona came back, scored, then the kicker misses the landing zone, so Seattle gets to start at the 40-yard line.
Yeah.
And as soon as I heard that, the game's over.
Yeah.
I knew that they're just gonna kick the game-winning field goal and win the football game. My question, maybe I should put this one out on Twitter too, and maybe we could get some text on the Texan line. Are we sick and tired of game-winning field goals in the NFL? How often has there been a game-winning field goal to end it? It's so anticlimactic now. It's like this dude's going to kick the game-winning field goal, unless you're Younghoe Koo and the Atlanta Falcons. Can't seem to kick a field goal to save their lives.
So a little teaser grievance from you,
yeah, no,
Brice?
Yes, it is. Are we sick and tired of game-winning field goals? Because it feels like we know how these games are going to end now.
I'm sick of knowing that
They're too good.
That's why last week in the NFL was so incredibly fun, was because you had
The blocked field goals?
4 blocked field goals.
Yeah, they should allow the leverage now because it's too easy to get those field goals off.
Well, in college, it's super fun because you have no idea. You're like, this is a crapshoot. You're like, it's a 35-yarder from the left hash.
Yeah.
He may hit it.
Right.
We don't know.
So it's still exciting.
Yes, absolutely. No, in the NFL, it's got. Look, I say this all the time. I think in the NFL, you start to narrow the uprights because these guys are too good. They're just too. We've had some issues this year, but normally guys are automatic from 55.
Do you want to hear a real radical take on this?
Oh yeah, give me your radical take.
Within the final 2 minutes of an NFL football game, the only way you can win is if you score a touchdown.
Okay, that's too radical. That's too
You
radical.
don't like that?
Yeah, that's like
Too extreme.
Take the field goal attempts out of the game.
No, go
in
ahead.
the last 2 minutes.
Jordan and I are not ready for that kind of radicalization.
We want to see touchdowns in
Now,
the National Football League.
I'm with you on that. The other thing, building off of Jordan's idea, why not like Papa Shot style, where it's just varying. The uprights move a bunch.
We're gonna get mini golf out there. We're gonna have the windmill that you have to kick it through.
I could go for a windmill, yeah. Or give me you bring one fan in from the stands, gets to play defense. Unblocked.
And my idea wasn't too radical.
It's more fun than you can't.
We should get the kid off college
the 12th
game
man.
day that
Come
Kirk
on now.
Herbstreit pulls out of the stands to kick a field goal next to Pat.
Yeah,
McAfee.
if
that dude should kick the game.
There it
winner.
is. If you don't get in the end zone, it has to be a rando from the stands that has to kick your field goal.
I would watch that.
The head coach has to come out and kick the field goal.
It's unbelievable, these kickers, man. It's just crazy how good they are.
Are you sick and tired of game-winning field goals? Because it's like if you're playing the Buffalo Bills and Josh Allen, you score with 13 seconds left, you probably should feel confident you're going to win the football game. No one feels confident, especially with the kickoff now. If the dude misses the zone, they start at the 40. It's one pass out of bounds, and the dude kicks a 65-yard field goal, and the game's over. And you had Josh Allen and the Bills against the ropes, and you lose.
I know.
It drives you nuts.
It does. I am tired. I don't like the NBA-ification of the NFL where you just feel like the team with the ball last is going to win the game.
That is what it feels like. The team that possesses the ball last is going to win the game. We're talking about scenarios where it's, why didn't you go down instead of scoring a touchdown with 30 seconds left because you left too much time on the clock?
I know.
That's a bad thing for football.
It is, and I don't love it. I don't love it. Is it a bigger issue, or is the issue that the defense is in some prevent and they're just giving up 15-yard outs?
It's part of the reason. Unless you're the Jets and you go cover 0 and they just throw it over the top.
Now, that was entertaining.
All right, maybe that's a grievance later on in the program. We went over a little bit. All right, we'll take a break. That's the Hot Lunch brought to you by BGR, Burgers Grilled Right. Check them out today. Get that 10% off. And look out for that gift card a little bit later on. Hour number 2, Paul Pugmire, our guest, comes up next to talk a little bit about the Ryder Cup and more right here on Utah's #1 sports talk, ESPN 700 and 92.1 FM. It's time for a PGA Tour leaderboard update. Going to give you a live update from the Ryder Cup here in just one moment. Want to remind you that you could dominate the tee with the Titleist GT medals and experience faster speeds with longer, straighter drives at Uinta Golf. Right now, we're going to get out to the ESPN 700 hotline and welcome in our good friend, one Paul Pugmire, to the show and chat with him about the current Ryder Cup that's happening. Paul, appreciate you jumping on. You're on with Brice Larson alongside Jordan Bianucci here this morning as we fill in for Sean O'Connell. Glad to hear from you here this morning.
Nice to talk to you guys.
Always great to be able to talk to the man that knows the most about golf right here on the program. I do want to start with a little bit of beef that we saw this week between one Bryson DeChambeau and Rory McIlroy because I thought it was funny. I mean, we had Brandel Chambly talking about how Bryson DeChambeau only gets views on his YouTube page because they're bots. We had Rory McIlroy saying the only time that he gets a lot of people tuning in is when he brings up Rory McIlroy. What are your thoughts on this and the back and forth and a little bit of smack talk before we get into Ryder Cup?
Well, it's a whole bunch of nothing, but it's kind of fun as a filler as we're all eagerly waiting for the Ryder Cup. You know, everything's dark the week leading into Ryder Cup, and we've been talking about it and focusing on it for a month anyway, maybe longer even. So it does fill some time. Look, both of these players are just monsters, and they both attract eyes and attract applause everywhere they go, and rightly so. They're both so interesting to watch. Do I think that DeChambeau only gets YouTube views because of bots? No, not for a minute. I watch it, and I think a lot of other people do too. And you know, Rory McIlroy is just endlessly interesting as well. So it's kind of fun to see these two chirping at each other. It might have just been for their own entertainment.
Okay, Paul, we got the Ryder Cup on here in the studio. For the uninitiated, Can you just give us an overview? How does the Ryder Cup work?
It is a team event, 12 players from the U.S. against 12 players from Europe. And let me just pause on that for a moment. For decades, it was 12 players from Great Britain. And then in the late 80s, because the U.S. was so dominant, mostly behind the support of Jack Nicklaus, the team was expanded. The British team was expanded to include all of Europe. And look, there were two very great players that this whole move was designed to capture on the team. And that's Seve Ballesteros and Bernhard Langer. And so immediately the European team became competitive, and it has been very competitive ever since. So that's kind of the foundation there. Like I say, team event. For the first 2 days of the 3-day event, you have morning and afternoon competitions, 4 matches, so 4 teams of 2, alternating between what's called a foursome format, which is alternate shot, 2 players, 1 ball, take turns hitting every other shot, 1 score for the team, and then a 4-ball, or what we in America normally call a best ball, and two players, teams of 2, they play their own ball, tee to green, hole it out, and then take the best score of the 2 for 1 score for the team. Then on Sunday, and each match is worth 1 point. If you tie at the end of 18, each team gets a half a point. Then come Sunday, it is 12 players, one-on-one in singles matches, and you add it all up, there's 28 matches, 28 points available for the week.
So I'm staring at this right now, and it looks like we're going through the 4-ball right now, and Europe is up 3-1. But do we have any other update from this weekend so far? Or is this the first event that we're watching?
So this morning they played a foursome, the alternate shot, and Europe came out hot. Europe has done for the last 20 years. Europe has dominated the foursome format, the alternate shot format. And the Ryder Cup is played every other year, and so 2 years ago at the most recent Ryder Cup that was played at Marco Simone in Italy, the Europeans won all 4 points in the foursome, the Friday morning foursome, and the U.S. never recovered at all and just got smoked. So the Europeans came out and did the same thing, it looked like, but the anchor match, which was Patrick Cantlay and Xander Schauffele, they teamed up to get the point in the fourth match to make it 3-1 out of the morning session. The afternoon session is on the course now, and each of the matches is tight. 3 of them have just a 1-hole margin, and the fourth one is tied.
So Scottie Scheffler is the captain of Team USA this year, and of course the best golfer in the world currently. How impressive was it that he qualified for the Ryder Cup with 37,000 points this year, and almost double of what J.J. Spahn was able to amass?
Right. So I need to pause for a moment on Scheffler's role in this. He absolutely is the best player on the planet right now, no question. The captain of the U.S. team is Keegan Bradley. And so Keegan Bradley is in charge of running the U.S. team and every aspect of it. He's got 4 or 5 assistant captains, all great names we know, and then the players. And Scheffler is absolutely the best of the players. But he didn't play very well this morning. So it is it's just really hard to see sometimes when you see these great players not step up and do what we know they can do. But that's where we are.
So how are we feeling right now about Team USA and where they're at with Europe at the moment, and what should we be looking for throughout the weekend in this Ryder Cup?
Well, I'm nervous. I really was hoping that the U.S. would come out of the Friday morning foursomes at least with a split 2-2 and maybe going up 3-1. To be down 3-1 is an improvement over what happened last time at Marco Simone, but not by a lot. Now, there's and especially in the context of one of the elements of the Ryder Cup is that in all of sports, it is the most home team favored, home team dominant event of top tier, top level events in all of sports. And it for the U.S. to be down 3-1 after the opening session is a bit of a concern. They need to come back at the end of the afternoon session, which is on the course now, winning it at least 3-1 to tie up the day, or if possible to sweep the afternoon to go into Saturday with a lead.
Paul Pugmire is here with us, the voice of Utah Golf Radio, every single Saturday morning right here on ESPN 700 and 92.1 FM. Paul, how's Rory McIlroy looked so far out there on the course as he's begun?
So good. Rory, to the degree that you ever could criticize Rory's game in any small marginal way, it's that he occasionally is tight with his wedge play, which means that he doesn't control his wedges as well as the very top wedge players in the world. It is the smallest of criticisms for one of the great players in the history of the game. But Rory's wedge play this morning was exquisite, spot on. He was swinging with complete freedom, and the results showed it. Rory is really in form.
And did I see that there was a little bit of back and forth about the players who play on the LIV Golf Tour versus the players that play on the PGA Tour, and there's that axe to grind between the two, and I maybe a Brice DeChambeau storyline there this week as well, and that he shouldn't be on the team because he doesn't play on the PGA Tour?
Yeah, there are some who still hang on to that, and look, there's no question there's conflict and there's sandpaper between the LIV Tour and the PGA Tour. Absolutely, there is. It has become less so over these last 3 years that since the Live Tour got started up. But DeChambeau very clearly should be on this team. And there's nobody associated with the U.S. team or with the Ryder Cup in any way who doesn't think so. And you would not want to go to the Ryder Cup without Brice and DeChambeau.
Before we let you go, tell us about this course that they're playing in Farmingdale, New York, Bethpage Black course. Let us know about the courses and what we're going to see in terms of features and whatnot.
Bethpage Black is one of the biggest big boy courses in the world. Now the biggest big boy course, of course, is Oakmont, and we saw the carnage that it gave to people in the U.S. Open this year. But in that conversation is Bethpage Black. It is one of the biggest, hardest, most difficult tests in the game of golf. It has hosted 3 major championships, and you look at the people who have won on it, and they are Tiger Woods and Brooks Koepka, big players with big games, and the third is Lucas Glover, who is one of the grittiest, most grinded out, rise to the occasion, find a way kind of players that we know in our time. And so you just look at the kinds of champions it has produced. It is a parkland course. It is long. It's got elevation changes that are a real feature of the course. It makes really good use of native grass areas. And one thing it doesn't use much is water. There's only water on one hole, but it just doesn't matter. The greens are not severely undulated. They are subtle, which can be even more difficult because you think that the putt is flat, and it really isn't. But right now, this week, today, it's soft, and it's just a function of the weather. They have got a whole bunch of rain on Long Island in the last couple days, and so Bethpage is soft. And that makes it a little more gettable, but there is no question that Bethpage will kick people in the teeth this week. That's just what Bethpage does.
Okay, I'm sure the answer to this question is just strictly tradition because it's always been this way. But there's a lot of people asking the question, how come this is played so late into the fall where it's up against college football and the NFL in a weekend that's so busy with a lot of other sports going on? Does the Ryder Cup really care about that in terms of TV ratings? And why don't they think about maybe bringing it up a little bit out of the football season so that more people can get their eyes on it this weekend?
They want to have it at the conclusion of the regular seasons for the PGA Tour and the DP World Tour, which is the European Tour. So it's a function of getting the teams picked and people being ready to focus on the Ryder Cup without any tour competition. Having said that, there aren't very many events that can compete for TV eyes for people watching against the NFL and college football, but this actually is one of them. Their numbers are going to be just fine. This is a money-making machine, and there's going to be a lot of people watching it.
That's really good to know. Hey, Paul, before we let you go, let us know what's coming up tomorrow on Utah Golf Radio right here on ESPN 700.
Well, we're all about the Ryder Cup. Having said that, so we're going to be getting on the phone with Devin DeLynn, the executive director of the Utah PGA. He is back at Bethpage, and we're going to talk with him from Bethpage about what it's like walking the course, seeing this stuff, and it'll be noisy and it'll be fun. But so we're going to talk with Devin about being at the Ryder Cup, and then a couple of big championships were completed this week here in Utah Golf. We're going to be talking with champions from the Utah Senior Women's Am and the four-ball championship that the UGA completed. And then we'll wrap it up with talking with Coach Bruce Brockbank from BYU. BYU got a rare double win this last week where they won a team event up in Washington, and BYU's Peter Kim won the individual side of it as well.
Paul Pugmire, ladies and gentlemen. Paul, appreciate your time. Thanks for jumping on with us.
Thank you, guys.
All right, Jordan. You feeling more confident now about your Ryder Cup knowledge?
I am feeling more confident, and it's more fascinating.
Yeah, he shut my Scotty Scheffler captain commentary down real quick.
Real quick.
That's why we need a guy like Paul around here.
You know what I need to look up now? I want to know, since they expanded and now it's Europe against the United States, how has Europe fared in the Ryder Cup against the United States? So I got to pull that up.
Well, I'm sure Paul could have told us that.
Well, I didn't want to. The conversation moved on. I could
have jumped in, brother.
Well, here's the thing. I could ask Paul history of golf questions for an hour and a half, because that stuff is really interesting to me. But I thought
jump right in.
I thought, see, that's where I get insecure. I'm like, I'm the only guy that cares about that. Like Paul,
I don't think so. Actually, I think there's a lot of people out there.
It's really
would be interested in finding that stuff out. All right, your Ryder Cup is underway right here, right now. 4 balls going on right now. Europe is currently up 3-1. So we'll keep an eye on it. We'll keep you up to date with that PGA Tour leaderboard. Remember, you can dominate the tee with the Titleist GT medals and experience faster speeds with longer, straighter drives at Uinta Golf. All right, we'll take a break here. 12:22 in the afternoon, and we'll come back with your daily dump. That's all coming up next, brought to you by Valley Plumbing and Drain Cleaning. Myself, Brice Larson, alongside Jordan Bianucci, in on the Sean O'Connell Show here this afternoon. If you want to hear more of us going forward, on Monday we'll be back at it in our normal spot, 7 to 10 a.m. on 103.9 and 98.3 ESPN The Fan, on our brother station just across the hallway. So you can join us throughout the weeks and the weekdays in the mornings from 7 to 10 a.m. over there. We'll take a break. Your daily dump comes up next on Utah's #1 sports talk, ESPN 700 and 92.1 FM. 12:28 on the Sean O'Connell Show. Sean will be back in his rightful spot on Monday. He's out in France calling some PFL fights. Those are underway over on ESPN Plus. If you want to see Sean's and hear Sean's commentary on the PFL fights throughout the day today. Big-time fights happening out there in France. In for him today, it's myself, Brice Larson, alongside Jordan Bianucci on the home of the Utes, ESPN 792.1 FM. Do want to remind you, you can find us over on ESPN700sports.com. Also streaming live on the YouTube page. Jordan, we got a texter yesterday that texted in on the text-in line. And he was like, hey, longtime listener of Brice and Bianucci over on the other station. I just checked out the YouTube live stream. Let's just say I'm going back to listening to it on radio.
Hey, come on. We're handsome gentlemen.
Cheap shot, huh?
No kidding. We have faces for radio. That's what they say.
It's all right. It's fine. You can also find us after the fact over on the Sean O'Connell podcast. Sean O'Connell Show. Just search it up wherever you get your podcasts or on the podcast tab at ESPN700sports.com. Let's get into the Daily Dump, brought to you by Valley Plumbing and Drain Cleaning, the latest around the world of sports and the news that you may have missed on a Football Friday edition of the program. This is where we will start. Logan Paul. We all know Logan Paul, the prize fighter.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
The boxer.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the boxing legend. That's how it should start.
The boxing legend.
Boxing legend Logan Paul.
Why are they using this weird title influencer whenever they introduce him? He's a boxer, right?
Mm-hmm.
Boxing legend Logan Paul is suing an auction house over a piece of the United Center court that Michael Jordan signed.
What's his deal? What's his beef?
So apparently, and James, maybe you could jump in and try and explain some of this as well, but apparently there was an outside authenticator that said that, no, this isn't a court from the certain period of time that MJ actually played. It's from a later date, correct?
Yeah, so there's dispute. That's at the heart of the dispute here. So there's Heritage Auction House or Heritage Listing or something. Heritage is in the name. I apologize. It's an auction house in Texas that was auctioning this off. They use three different like authentication services, I guess you could say, and all of them, according to their side of the story, said, yeah, this is from 94 to 98 when Michael Jordan, Michael Jordan played on this floor for 3 of those years, won 3 championships. He signed this part of the court. The weird thing is that part doesn't seem to be in the dispute, whether it's actually his signature. It's whether the court was the one he played on, which, of course, is going to make it more valuable.
Right.
But I would think that the signature is the most important part of something like this, but I digress. So their side of it is we use one main one that Jordan has a deal with personally, and then 2 other ones, and they all verified this, while Logan Paul and his representatives are saying, we talked to one of the same, and then they had other people they use for authentication, and they all said, no, this actually, for us, looking at photos and all the other process they go through, this actually looks like it matches up more with the United Center floor from the 01-02 season through the 05-06 season.
I'm surprised they can even tell that that's a thing.
Right?
They're like, wait a minute, you cut this out of Panguitch High. This isn't from Chicago at all.
Paul's winning bid was for $562,555.42.
Wait, say that number one more time.
$562,555.42.
Okay.
For that floor.
How big a piece
Don't
is it?
forget the 42 cents.
That's
42
right.
cents.
Right?
I think it's the whole floor.
Is it the whole floor, James, or just a piece?
The headline says, well, not the headline, but the blurb on the website that they show on the ESPN's top headline said a piece of the
You're right.
court.
Thank you for correcting him on that.
of
Michael Jordan's signed piece
8 by 8
of the United Center floor.
8 by 8 foot section of the 1994 to 98 United Center original game used court.
Okay.
Heritage is the name of the auction house. Here's what it is. They use Upper Deck authentication because Upper Deck, like the trading cards and the other memorabilia, Jordan has an exclusive deal with them for all of his memorabilia and trading cards and stuff. So they use them and third-party authentication from PSA/DNA and Beckett Authentication Services. It's interesting because PSA is the one that both sides reference as to this is why we know what we authenticated is correct. So PSA, I don't know if it's different people at PSA. I don't know. PSA, here's a PSA for you. Maybe get on the same page.
I'd hate to be the judge that has to deal with these two parties.
It's so you're reading through this article, guys, and it's like reading legalese.
Yeah,
because if you're not in the memorabilia authentication world, I realized reading through this article, this sounds so foreign.
Yeah,
to me. I'm like, I think I know what I'm reading here.
Yeah.
A lot of industry terms being used in that article.
What are you going to use? What are you going to do with an 8-foot piece of a basketball court anyway? Going to put that do you turn it into
Hang
your
it up?
Coffee table? Hang it where?
Put it
You
on the
don't.
wall
You
somewhere.
certainly don't play
Frame it?
on it. And if it's your coffee table, use a coaster.
That's
okay,
right.
come on now.
That's right.
I'm not sure. Rich people with a lot of money, they spend their money in interesting ways.
Oh man,
Is this the equivalent of like 2004 World Series infield dirt from Fenway Park? Is that what this is? Is that what, like, no way, that doesn't sell for this much, but like it feels like the same kind of thing. Like I've got dirt from a World Series game or something.
Maybe the actual rubber from the mound
signed
by Kurt Schilling.
Yeah, cool.
that's
in his own, in his blood,
or a Dave Roberts signed second base
in the ketchup that he put on his sock. Right, James?
I'd rather.
Yeah,
You're
hey,
wearing
come
a
on
Red
now.
Sox jersey over there.
Yeah,
The ketchup that he put on his sock in 2004.
I'm muting your mic here. There's something wrong with your mic. No, that was real, all right. And sorry, not sorry to all the Yankees fans. I know that's not you, Brice. So I'm not going to take it out on you.
Hard time over there.
All right.
I'd rather have the dirt. I think.
Yeah.
Because it's just easier to display. I don't know, just a chunk of cord. I don't know what I'm going to do with that.
Right.
A rim? No, that'd be cool.
Is it like it? I'm guessing it's like in a frame and you hung on his wall or something.
Yeah,
that'd be cool.
Because any other place you do it, you're risking damaging something you paid over $500,000 for.
That's insane.
Yeah, my dad owns some Fenway Park dirt. It's up on his wall. He's a big Red Sox fan.
Okay.
And they claim, I don't know if this is true, they claim the Red Sox, when they were selling it, it was the dirt around the base that Dave Roberts slid into.
That's
wow.
Cool. Sure.
Who knows if it's real? Who knows if it's real?
Of course it's real. Why can't you trust the greatest organization in baseball?
That's right.
Come on now.
So that's cool. It's hanging up on his wall. It's actually a pretty cool little piece of memorabilia.
That's cool. What piece of memorabilia would, if money's no object, that what would you want?
I would want one of the Honus Wagner cards.
You really would?
Yeah.
Those are cool.
One of the Honus Wagner cards that are out there. What is it? One of 6?
Yeah.
That they know of?
The T206 they call it or whatever?
I would pull in one of those.
That's cool. What about you, James?
Man.
Good question.
That is a great question.
Text in what you want. One piece of memorabilia.
What do you want Logan Paul to buy for you?
Yeah, money's no object.
What about you, Jordan?
Shohei Ohtani bobblehead that I didn't have to stand out in a line for 30 hours to.
You can get that on eBay for a cool $70,000.
You know, I might want. I threw it out as a hypothetical, but I actually might want that second base that Dave Roberts stole.
That'd be cool.
The actual second base. That'd be pretty
cool.
sweet.
You know what? I would want the Bobby Thompson home run ball from 1951 because no one knows where it is. It's long gone. Like, no one has any idea.
I want the Steve Bartman ball that's already been blown up.
It's been blown
up. You just want the pieces of Steve Bartman's ball?
Yes, I want the blown up Steve Bartman ball.
Did you see when Raleigh hit his 60th the other night, a dude caught it and gave it to a little kid, and then the kid gave it back to Cal Raleigh?
Really?
Yeah, and then last night the
Did
Mariners.
they give the kid something?
I assume so. I don't know. They gave him a nice.
Was it like the LA Dodgers where they cornered the guy or no, it wasn't the guy, it was the lady.
Woman.
They cornered the woman, they put her in the closet and separated her from her husband.
What ball
It was like,
that?
give us the ball. It was Shohei Ohtani's 50 and 50 ball last year, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Did they?
That's insane.
Here's conspiracy. Did they say we'll let you have the 63 home run ball? We will get it from whoever caught it, and we will trade that for the 60th home run ball.
Doubtful. I bet they tried to trade her for
a Dodger dog. They're like,
a bag of peanuts.
Here's a coupon for 5 free Dodger dogs.
Oh my gosh! Take it.
But they did find the original fan who caught the home run ball, and he got to meet Cal Raleigh, I guess. So, did you see
Congratulations.
this?
You caught one of the most expensive balls in the near future.
Yeah, how much?
Maybe
will that...
not super expensive, but yeah, here's your picture.
I'll tell you what was cool. Did you see the guy that caught the Mike Trout 400 home run ball last week? He was at the Rockies game, and they brought him down. They're like, hey, what do you want? He's like, I want one thing. Well, I want 2 things. He's like, I want a bat, and I want to play catch with Trout. And so he got to play catch with Trout. That was cool. That's a good trade.
Would you trade that for a?
Depends how much. We've talked about this. It depends how much the ball is worth.
Yeah. 400 home run ball is not going to be worth a whole lot.
No. For that, I would trade a catch, sure.
Yeah.
Sure. Or a couple of
And
tickets.
the 60th home run ball is not going to probably be worth that much. It would be the 62 or the 63 or higher, obviously, that'd be like, that's the one that you're like, yeah, I'm not sure that there's anything you could trade me for this ball.
Yeah, there was one in San Francisco that McCovey Cove Dave wasn't going to give up.
Yeah, well, that was so stupid. It wasn't. It was the first splash hit for one of the Giants players. The ball's worth nothing to anyone except that player.
He was not giving it up.
And the dude in the freaking kayak is like, I'm not giving it up. I got it. I'm like, all right, bro.
That's hilarious.
Who was
some parking.
What about the Pittsburgh kid? Remember when Pittsburgh offered the season tickets?
Oh yeah, because he pulled the Paul Skeens rookie card.
Oh, that's
it
right.
was so it wasn't a kid. It was a kid in L.A.
That's right.
And the Pittsburgh Pirates offered this kid from L.A. that had the only signed Paul Skeens rookie card ever made.
Mm-hmm.
They offered him, I think they said lifetime season tickets behind home plate.
Okay.
And then there was a bunch of other stuff. But the kid lived in L.A.
Yeah.
Yeah, what's he going to do with Pirates season tickets?
I would have called the franchise back and be like, yeah, you give me a house out in Pittsburgh and maybe we'll talk about it.
Yeah,
Wow.
Let me deal with an airline company to get me out there.
Yeah. If you're going to give me season tickets, then you got to pay for my travel every week. And you got or you got to sell them for me and give me all the profits
and my seats
when I can't make it.
Yeah, and my seats are next to Livy Dunn.
Oh my gosh!
Yeah, that's it. She moves somewhere, I'm going. That's what I want.
They're at home plate to start
box.
the game, but she moved to right field, so now they're in right field.
All right, we'll jump over to a different story here. One from the National Hockey League. Florida Panthers captain Alexander Barkov undergoing knee surgery, could miss the entire regular season. That's a big hit to the reigning champs around the National Hockey League. Florida Panthers looking good in the last couple of years. So we'll see if that is something that ends up derailing the upcoming season. How are we feeling about the Mammoth this year, Jordan?
I'm excited. They're going to be good.
We had Bill Armstrong on our program over on Brice and Bianucci in the mornings, and he told us that before the draft last year, they were projected somewhere between 93 to 96 points from a lot of different places on the table in the standings. And Jordan, hockey's coming up right around the corner. This should be an exciting team. Maybe the only exciting professional team here in the state of Utah. So, hey, let's get behind the Mammoth a little bit.
It's a playoff team. That's a play. If they don't make the playoffs here,
It should be a playoff team.
Absolutely. That's the expectation.
Tusks up. Let's go.
Hashtag Tusks
I was
up.
like, wait, what?
Tusks up.
Tusks up. Give me some.
My version of tusks up is this right here. Like the arms are the tusks.
There we go.
Kind of looks like you're want to fight someone too. So.
Yeah, in 1845.
Yeah. Well,
The Y-I-A.
Yeah.
little Notre Dame.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, no, it should be a playoff team. And imagine a playoff hockey game in that barn at the Delta Center across the road.
Be fun.
We were at the inaugural game with the Chicago Blackhawks when they were in town. It got loud in there.
Oh,
It was loud.
yeah.
It's a playoff atmosphere.
Should be even better now that everyone in the building can see all parts of the ice starting this season.
I would hope so.
It's an underrated aspect of going to a sporting event, being able to see the entire playing surface
without looking at the big screen.
Exactly.
So
in the
my
middle.
question is how many Utah fans will be in the building now? Because in the past, it's like I went to the Boston Bruins game when they were here, and
Yeah.
it was a lot of Boston Bruins fans.
More and more every year. It's going to take time, but the Mammoth have knocked this out of the park because they're good right away. They're
Right.
contenders, so they keep you interested right away. So I think if they continue to win, there are going to be a ton of Mammoth. You'll see fewer and fewer NHL other team fans in there.
And they didn't do it the cheap way like the Las Vegas Golden Knights.
The cheap way.
Yeah, with the worst expansion draft of all time.
The most. That's right.
No question about it. Get
Oh.
out of here, Vegas fans. You know what we're all talking about.
Well, they changed the rule, did they not?
Yes,
Because of that.
because of that.
Yeah,
And
well-
look how good the Seattle Kraken are.
Right, Seattle made the playoffs in their first year with under similar rules. They went, okay, I guess this is too easy for expansion teams. Expansion teams are supposed to be bad. I mean, on the one hand, it's a nice change of pace from other sports where, at least in hockey, you went, okay, well, this team could be good right away, but it's like you make it to the Stanley Cup final in your first year.
Yeah.
And then another team makes the playoffs in their first year. Like, it's get a little too out of hand.
The 62 Mets are going, what the hell happened to us? We lost 120 games.
All right, another update. This one coming from the National Basketball Association. No return timeline set for 76er stars Joel Embiid and Paul George.
We haven't even started the damn season.
And the 76ers are already back to where they started, baby.
That's unreal.
Do we think Joel Embiid? Hey, Austin Ainge, do we think Joel Embiid plays this year? Oh, thank you. I don't think so either.
Look, I don't feel bad for Philadelphia sports fans. Okay? If we want to go down this line of thinking,
Well, first of all,
if you know me well, I do not care for Philadelphia, the city of Philadelphia, and their sports organizations.
Well, even on a non-personal level, you have a problem with the people of Philadelphia. But you have they have two great teams, not good teams. They have two great teams with the Phillies and the Eagles. So it's, they're
I
fine.
don't feel bad for them.
Oh, that'll be fine.
They'll be all right. All right, before we get out of here, Jordan, Major League Baseball, I do want to give you what we're looking at right now. Toronto currently with the number 1 seed. You've got Seattle getting the bye as well. If the playoffs were to start today, it would be Cleveland and Detroit, the 3 and 6, the Yankees and the Red Sox. On the other side, you have Milwaukee as the 1 seed, Philadelphia as the 2, the Dodgers and the Mets, and then the Chicago Cubs and the San Diego Padres in the National League.
Yeah, and by the time in a few hours that could change because Toronto and New York are tied in the AL East. And like you said, Toronto has the tiebreaker. So, but, Toronto loses 2 of 3, Yankees take 2 of 3. That's flipped. With Detroit, they're a game up on Houston.
I'll double check it really quick.
Because they could fall out of it as well. They play the Red Sox this weekend. The Mets, who knows what's going to happen? They play the Marlins, but the Reds are essentially tied with the Mets because they hold their tiebreaker. It's going to be a really interesting weekend.
Detroit is 1 game up on the Houston Astros, and if they lose and do not make the playoffs, it could be one of the biggest collapse of all time in Major League Baseball.
Yeah, I think Monday we will be debating, is it the biggest collapse of all time? Absolutely.
You
They
think
won
the
last
Detroit
night.
Tigers are going to keep losing?
They got the Red
They
Sox.
have the Red Sox.
They've been playing
Sox are
pretty
hot.
well.
Yeah, I'm going to take the Red Sox at home against
Yeah,
the
you
Tigers
are.
team that can't win. The Tigers did win last night. And watching that game, their broadcasters, it was like, they're like, oh, thank God. They're like,
Jason Benetti.
Oh, man. I have an incredible stat for you real quick.
Okay.
I saw this last night. This is for those that don't know, you're a big Pittsburgh Pirates fan.
Unfortunately.
This is a Paul Skeens stat. So he's like 10 and 21 and 13 overall in his career record-wise. If the Pirates had given Paul Skeens 3 runs of support in each of his 50 starts, he would be 32 and 5. Think about that. If just 3 runs, not 4 runs, just 3 runs, he'd be 32 and 5.
That's disgusting.
That's has an ERA under 2.
Instead, he's won 11 games this year. I think it is.
I believe you're right. Yeah.
11 games. Congratulations to the
10.
10.
He's
10
10
games.
1.97 ERA this year.
That's incredible. All right, want to remind you that Live Night Events presents the 2025 Granary Live Concert Series, powered by Nightingale College and Murdoch Hyundai, Utah's #1 Hyundai dealer. Experience outdoor concerts in the heart of downtown Salt Lake's Granary District. Find more details on ESPN700sports.com. We'll take a break. Lee Sterling from Paramount Sports joins us next. Go through a big, massive, huge college football weekend with him. That's next on the Sean O'Connell Show on Utah's #1 sports talk, ESPN 700 and 92.1 FM. Back at it on the Sean O'Connell Show. Brice Larson and Jordan Bianucci filling in for one Sean O'Connell, who's out in France. If you want more of us, find us over on 103.9 and 98.3 FM here in the state of Utah during the weekdays, 7 to 10 a.m. It's where we are on the Brice and Bianucci program. Right now, let's talk about a massive college football weekend, and we'll jump out to the ESPN 700 hotline. Welcome in Lee Sterling from Paramount Sports. Lee, glad to have you along for the ride.
Oh, thanks. Great. We've never done a show together. Always listen to you guys' show and enjoy it, and glad to be with you. Hopefully down the road, I have a place in Park City we meet in the future over a few ones watching some games.
Absolutely. Right? There's nothing that I would love more than that. That sounds like a great plan. Let's start here. Big college football weekend. Ohio State taking on Washington. Ohio State, an 8.5-point favorite over the Dogs in Seattle.
So I think that the Dogs have some really good individual players. Damon Williams, if he can somehow win this game for the Dogs, he's going to be in the top three, catapult himself into the Heisman race. He also has a really good receiver in Denzel Boston, top 5 or at least top 10 running back in Jonah Coleman. They have 2 really good cornerbacks. Problem here is the rest of their team, I don't think they're there yet. I think they're a year or two away. So they're going to have to play some defense, and obviously they're playing at home should help a little bit, maybe a lot, but they've already given up 21 and 24 points to Colorado State and Washington State, and these are bottom feeders here. So it's going to be tough for them. They are playing a really talented Ohio State team. Julian Saint's really good. Only reason they scored 14 points that first game was they never had the ball. Texas had it for pretty much 2/3 of the game, and he had 6 drops by his receivers, and which is uncharacteristic. Smith, Innes, and Tate, I think, are the best trio in college football here. So I'm gonna take this Ohio State team. I think they pull away late, 35-24.
Yeah, it's not a bad idea to take an Ohio State team until they prove you wrong. They're just such a good football team and have been for quite some time. How about Penn State? A lot of people are calling him Big Game James Franklin because he can't win the big game when it matters the most. Penn State, a 3-point favorite against Oregon in a night game whiteout scenario. Tell us about this Penn State team and what you got here.
Yeah, I mean, his record against top 5 teams, only 1-18 straight up. So not getting the job done here. Last year, they lost in the Big Ten championship game to Oregon, 45-37. But there are a couple things that might give him a shot here. And one is they're playing at home, whiteout at night. They're coming off of a bye, so game planning should help them out. Last year's Oregon team, I think they'd go into Happy Valley and beat Penn State. But this year, they're young. Dante Moore, talented, but the toughest road game he's played, and it's at Northwestern in front of like 15,000 fans in on-campus stadium. Their run defense is ranked 50th in the country. They ran for 292 in that game last year to Penn State. They just couldn't throw the football. Both Singleton and Allen, their running backs, are back. They added Trevor Pena from Syracuse. They added K'Ron Hudson from USC. These 2 guys have 27 total catches. But the X factor is Jim Knowles, the defensive coordinator for Penn State. Why? He was at Ohio State last year. Second game, when they played Oregon in the college football playoff, shut him down. Totally changed his entire blitz package. They did absolutely nothing. I think he finally wins a game, does Jim Knowles, for James Franklin, 24-17.
Yeah, Lee, interesting game moving to the Big 12. Iowa State, Arizona. Iowa State favored by 5.5 at home. I don't know what to make of this Arizona team. What are you seeing here?
Well, I think that they're improved. They are much better this year. Couldn't play any defense last year. Couldn't play a stick of defense, and couldn't run the football. So they are improved. But the problem here is they're going to have to get some explosive first down plays. If they can get 6, 7, 8 yards, they'll be successful. Iowa State, if they put you in long down and distance situations, you're going to have trouble. So I think Iowa State is playing at home here. And you talk about having trouble on the road. Arizona, yeah, they did beat Kansas State, but that was at home. They did allow just 193 total yards and 8 first downs, but Kansas State is dead. Last year on the road, how about this? They lost to Kansas State by 24, BYU by 22, 44 to UCF, and 21 to TCU. This game is about levels. I think Iowa State gets the job done here, 28-20.
Lee Sterling from Paramount Sports is our guest, previewing a huge weekend in college football, and none bigger, of course, as we're the home of the Utes here in Salt Lake City in Utah, with this Utah and West Virginia matchup. Utah, 13.5-point favorite. This one, look, this line has jumped. I mean, we saw it open at 9.5. It's moved all the way to 13.5. We've been talking the Utah fans off the ledge this week, Lee. Give us some good news here.
Well, and when I watched that game, I looked to a friend and I said, I don't care how well Utah plays second half. It's going to be tough to play with the same type intensity and be clean after turning the ball over 3 times in the first half. So they were digging out of that hole. They couldn't find that one play to get over the hump when they were battling. And I give them credit. You know, it just wasn't their day. But West Virginia is horrendous. Their only decent win this year is against Pitt, and Pitt had over 100 yards in penalties. They, their quarterback Holstein, he has one bad game each year, and that was it. And they rotated 3 quarterbacks in that game, and it wasn't because they were getting hurt. So they just can't find the guy. They're down their top 2 running backs here. So normally I'd say this is a tough spot coming off a tough loss here, but I think West Virginia may not win another game this year. So I still think Utah's quality here, and I think Dampier is going to run wild. Jalen Daniels had 69 yards rushing. I think Dampier is going to run for $115, $120. Utah, 36-13.
Love that pick. Hopefully we can get that outcome with Utah coming up this weekend. Let's jump over to BYU. They take on Colorado on the road in Boulder, 6.5-point favorite. A freshman quarterback. Does the freshman quarterback in Bear Bachmeier worry you at all in his second road start of the season in what should be a lot more of a raucous crowd in Boulder than it was in East Carolina last week?
Well, I think it's going to be tough, but going cross country is not easy. East Carolina is playing some pretty good football. They probably should have beaten NC State earlier in the season, just one of those games they couldn't get the job done. Every game there's 6-7 plays. If you're in a close game, you got to come up with 1 or 2, and they just couldn't come up with it. So it was a better win than most people would realize. So Colorado, another team rotating 3 quarterbacks. You know, they don't rotate them usually in the game. They did one of the games, but they're back to their original starter here in Salter. I think he's good, but he's not great here. He's prone to make mistakes. I don't think Colorado's sound. A lot of penalties here, and this BYU defense is next level. Just 16 points in 3 games. I think we're going to look back and say this might be one of the top BYU defenses of all time here. So sometimes you got to lay it if you want to play it, even if you're on the road. BYU minus 6.5. They get the job done here, 30-17.
All right, then, of course, tonight, a big one in Big 12 play as well. Arizona State taking on TCU. It's the game of the week, as you put it here. Tell us a little bit about this one.
Yep, if they want to get it for free, I have a real strong feeling on one side here. This game, who knows, it could decide the winner of the Big 12 or maybe at least one or both of the teams that get into the Big 12 championship game. So you want to get Arizona TCU tonight on me. Just be one of the first 5 callers. Call 800-400-9741. Again, the first 5 callers, I'm going to give them Arizona State and TCU. And you know what? I'll even give them the Florida State game tonight against Virginia. Is that a trap game, only laying 7 points? So Florida against Virginia and Arizona State TCU. First 5 callers, get it for free. 800-400-9741. Huge UFC card from Perth, Australia, going tomorrow night. That starts at 5 o'clock Mountain Time. You want to get on that. We won 13 of the last 16 cards, 7 selections, including a 35-unit major wager release there. Just $37, $37 for 7 selections. Or football. We have won every single game in the NFL since Sunday, 6-0 run there. So you want to get every game on my phone service from tonight all the way through Monday night. You're going to get 13 to 15 plays. Use coupon code SAVE100, ParamountSports.com.
All right, Lee, before we let you go, one of my favorite things that you do in all the interviews that you do is wrong team favored. Are there any wrong teams favored this weekend in college or the NFL?
There is LSU. LSU. This is a top 3, top 4 team. I know Ole Miss is fun watching. Trinidad Chambliss, new quarterback, Lane Kiffin on the sideline. His daughter's dating the star linebacker for LSU, but the wrong team is favored. LSU straight up here, 34-28.
Speaking of this game, is there anything to be said about what Lane Kiffin tweeted out about that situation? He said, take the over. Are we believing him? Are we taking the over?
It's probably going to be pretty high scoring, but the over, you can bet on him going for it on 4th down. He falls behind. He starts taking chances. So he's an interesting character. I think he's great for college football. So going to be a lot of fun. Another game people might want to watch. I'm going to make a prediction here. South Carolina, Kentucky. The loser, Shane Beamer or Mr. Stoops, whoever loses that game might be out of a job. So that game also really big for either coach because they just have tough schedules down the road. Beamer could end up, he could go back to where his father had so much success. He could go to Virginia Tech where it's a lot easier to win, or Kentucky could make a change. Maybe John Gruden. Maybe it's Gruden time there.
All right, Lee. Hey, appreciate your time. Thanks for jumping on with us here this afternoon. Have a great college football weekend.
You too, guys. Take care. Be safe.
That is Lee Sterling from Paramount Sports right here on the Sean O'Connell Show. You like that? Wrong team favored, huh?
I do like that, and I like that call because I took LSU.
Yeah, that's the problem. Earlier in the Brice is right. I went with Ole Miss, so
I don't know what you were thinking.
I'm feeling a little worried about that.
I like that call. I do. LSU's good, man. LSU's good. You just don't like Brian Kelly.
I don't like Brian Kelly as a coach, and that's not a personal thing. I don't like him because what has he shown us as a coach about getting it done at LSU? He's over there pounding the desk after losing football games.
Yeah, that's true. They're asking him dumb questions, Brice. What do you want?
Yeah, and he was our jerk of the week the other week.
He was our jerk of the
week.
week.
On Brice and Bianucci.
We need a jerk of the week this week. Who's been a jerk?
We'll have to look at it. Maybe we could talk about that coming up in the airing of grievances at 1:30. Coming up next, OC caught up with the defensive coordinator for your Utah Utes and the head coach in waiting, Morgan Scalley. You're going to hear that interview and more as we get to hour number 3 of the program. That's next right here on your home of the Utes, ESPN 700 and 92.1 FM.
of catching up with the DC. My friend Morgan Scally, head coach in waiting at the University of Utah and defensive coordinator here in this 2025 season. Morgan, how are you?
What's up, brother? What's up?
You tell me what's up, because I know that we're past the 24-hour rule, but we have to look back a little bit on Texas Tech. How do you judge, as a coach, how do you judge the totality of your defensive performance? Because there were so many good moments, and then, of course, there were some that were not so good. So how do you judge it? How do you grade it?
I was proud of our guys, proud of the way they fought. There at the end, we didn't finish like we needed to, and some of the stuff was what they did. There's some calls I wish I had back for sure. But what you never saw was a lack of fight from the guys. I was pleased with the two takeaways, the sudden change defense with the short fields, where the missed tackles, way too many, and I would say just our inability to finish when we needed it most, and then. Like I said, I'm just as much a part of that, if not more so. And like I said, there's some calls I wish that I had back. They started to do some different things with the Q run game there late in the game. That you got to make a decision. How aggressive do you want to be? And so credit to them. But, all we can do is look at the film, focus on where we can improve. Tackling's one of them. Now, there's things that we are going to teach our guys to be aggressive, where you're going to be okay with some misses as long as you're slowing the back down, and relentless effort is going to take care of the rest. And then there's some misses that you just can't have. So, again, overall, I'm proud of our guys for the fight. It was back and forth, and we held our own for a long time. We just didn't finish.
How do you improve tackling in season when you have to, thread this needle where you want to be physical at practice, have nice hard practices, but you don't want to grind your guys down? The season itself is enough of a crucible. So how do you manage that now that you're in the thick of a season that's going to be, we think, competitive the whole way through?
Yeah, there's still some very controlled situations that you can do in practice where you're tackling, where you're live tackling, and we're going to continue to do that. I feel like we've improved. I feel like the tackles are, some of the tackles you're missing are in open field space versus good athletes, and you want to make those all the time, but you're not going to make them all the time, and that's why you got to be able to run to the football. Again, we're sitting there in the fourth quarter, it's 10-3 versus an offense that's done what they've done. And I'm, like I said, there's some really good things that we were doing, and it just didn't end up working out how we wanted it to.
When you have a guy or a couple guys who have, individual tough days with missed tackling, how do you handle that as a coach, as a position coach, and, of course, as the defensive coordinator? Because if you miss those tackles, it's a double-edged sword. You're in the right position, you're where you're supposed to be to make the tackle, and then you don't finish the tackle, so it's not all bad. So how do you handle that when it's like a couple guys who maybe have 2, 3, or 4 in a single game?
Well, you really have to just go back and look at where they're missing. What's the issue with the technique? Are we running through the tackle? Are we losing our feet on contact? Are we ducking our head? So there's definitely a fundamental and technique aspect to it, and there's also a position aspect to it. Not every position has the same difficulty of tackles. Your open field, open space tackling for a safety, that's tough. That's difficult. When you're tackling as a linebacker in the box, that's not so, so there's definitely a degree of difficulty based on where that tackle's occurring. If you're talking about Nate Ritchie, I believe, also leads the team in tackles, so right, he's also making some good tackles. And but we know that the film will tell all, and right now we're just not driving our feet through contact. There's sometimes where we're throwing shoulders. So that's stuff that you just have to, correct on film and work through it in practice. And but we're confident in our guys and our ability to improve.
I know you're never going to be the one that gives me anything that sounds anything like an excuse, but how disruptive is it to your game plan, to your play calls, when a backup quarterback comes in? You have a guy who's got a different physical profile, a different skill set, much more mobile as the backup at the Texas Tech backup. The performance-based in that game is like, oh, the backup's better than the starter. I know it's not quite as simple as that, but how disruptive is that to your job when it's a different guy and a different person than you've prepared for?
Well, you prepare for everyone that you're able to see on film. He had enough reps on film with them just blowing people out. I mean, it's not like we hadn't seen him. They'd used him in the red zone as well for some Q run games, so we knew a little bit about that. But I think it's a lot more difficult when you're going up against a guy that has no film, that you really didn't see on film. You don't know his skill set. You don't know his throwing ability. And so I'd say that that's a little bit more of a tough thing, versus these guys. We were down 3, and so it's like, okay, they're not in 4-minute mode, where they're just trying to grind the clock. They still have to play offensive football. He can throw the ball. He's got a good arm. So, it's just like any mobile quarterback or any scheme where they utilize the quarterback in a dedicated run, not just an escape, not just the quarterback escaping or pulling the ball in his own read, but back and tight end blocking for the quarterback. You've got to be able to do some things and get a little bit more aggressive and bring your safety out of the post. And then when that happens, you're in zero coverage and your guys are man-to-man versus their dudes. So, that's what they started to utilize, and it just at that point you're deciding when you want to be aggressive and when you want to focus on coverage.
Utah defensive coordinator Morgan Scalley is our guest here on the Sean O'Connell Show. Coordinator's Corner brought to you by friends at America First Credit Union. We're going to move on to West Virginia here in just a second, but I need you to help me out with this because Monday's show, I'm talking out of both sides of my mouth, right? I'm like, gosh, this defense stood up on short fields for 3.5 quarters. And then the other side of my mouth, I'm saying, I don't understand how it happens where you played that well for so long. And then when your offense finally wakes up and gives you the drive and brings this thing to within 3, it felt like that was a moment where the defense finally deflated. And I have no explanation as to how that happened, why that happened, because on paper it's like, they're more rested going out for that drive because it wasn't a 3-and-out by the offense. It was a decent drive. The crowd's now back involved. And I know it's part of the ebbs and flows of games, and I know we have to give Texas Tech credit because sometimes with athletes like that, they're just going to win their plays. They're going to win their individual matchups. But that situation specifically was the hardest part of the game for me to explain for your defense. So can you help me put into context how and why it went down like it did?
Well, a couple things that they did, they had been working a lot of the away zone insert run game, and then they decided to use the same thing, but with the quarterback. So now you're down a guy in the box, and someone has to essentially defeat his block and make a play. Otherwise, it's up to your second level. So I think the first play of that series was just a missed gap assignment, and then you get down there where I believe I can't remember on that split pro gun if it was third down or not. I gave a zone pressure call and to a play selection that you don't want to be in a zone. Like I said, hey, point the finger at my sorry butt, a dog pressure where they work a flood concept to it, and they ended up scoring on it. So there were just some things that they had done in that series that they hadn't shown previously, some errors on our part, a missed tackle here or there, but that's how it happens. It's not a lack of effort, or it's not a lack of toughness. It's sometimes offenses do good things and defenses do good things, and it just unfortunately we didn't we weren't as efficient and good enough as we needed to be in that drive.
Is Jonnu Hall? Is he now he's on that same plane with Lander and Levani? Jonnu played more, if I'm not mistaken, than Demooney did in this game. Is that because of what he's been doing in practice and on film? Is that?
He's one of our best. He's one of our best playmakers. Yeah. So he's got to be out there. You look at what he did in his production in that game, the physicality. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I thought that's what it was, but I didn't know if Levani was banged up or anything like that. So it's been great to see his development, and we've already talked about that, the projection of a guy when he comes into the program to what he's going to be before he leaves the program, and Jonnu Hall, just another example of that. Let's turn the page here. Let's talk about how you have a great week of practice in getting ready for kind of a cumbersome road to West Virginia, another conference game. You're in the thick of conference play now, and obviously still in the hunt, because 0-1 in conference play doesn't mean anything in a conference like this at the end of the year, potentially.
Yeah, every game any team can win in the Big 12. It doesn't matter. You prepare exactly the same. You have to look forward. You have to, they've got athletes. They've got dudes. If you come, and they're going to have a great crowd. And if you don't respect your opponent, you don't come ready to play. Anyone can beat anyone. So Rich Rod has done an amazing job versus us throughout the years. When he was at Arizona, the run game's always been solid. They've got some really good wide receivers, and you have to come prepared and ready to go, and that's what our guys are focused on.
You just mentioned the run game. They did lose Jaheim White for the season, and I was like, this is a pretty thin roster on paper at West Virginia. You lose one of your best players, you lose a preseason all-conference level guy. That's going to be really hard for them to overcome. And then the next week they beat their rival Pitt in the backyard brawl, and I was like, okay, they're still alive, they're still awake, and I think that speaks to the point you just made, that you got to respect everyone everywhere. But in the absence of a guy who in the preseason we thought was going to be one of their best players, who has emerged, who's dangerous, or what is dangerous about this offense in particular for Rich Rod and the Mountaineers?
Well, the dedicated Q run game that they have. Every single quarterback that they've utilized is shown to run the ball, and not, like I said, not just, zone read where they're pulling it off the defensive end. They have dedicated run games, so you have to be able to commit to the box, and they have wide receivers that with speed and athleticism to make you pay if you're over-aggressive. So it's really a scheme that stresses you both from a scheme standpoint, but also they're the fastest moving team that we will face all year in terms of when they're snapping the ball. This is a team that averages, over 23 seconds in terms of when that ball is snapped on the play clock in control down situations. So you'll see them snap it at 30 seconds, 10 seconds to get lined up, snap the ball, and go. So if you're getting into long drive situations, your guys are going to get gassed. You have to have a plan for a rotation, particularly if they're not subbing, and they really do. They stress you that way. So you get some teams that they have tendencies and they have formational tendencies. When an offense is going that fast, it's tough to really dial into those tendencies. You just have to get lined up and play really good fundamentals and technique football. So that's how this offense stresses you.
How do you, as a coordinator, as a coach, make the calculation on as bumps and bruises accumulate, and guys are, at this point in the season, probably everyone's less than 100% from a physical standpoint. But if a guy's, 75% and he's your starter, where is the line? Where's the delineation between him at 75% is better than his backup? How do you make those calculations as a coach?
It's always a case-by-case basis, and it's always what have you proven to me in practice. If I've got a guy at 75% physically, but mentally he's so much sharper than my backup, I'm probably going to keep him in. But at the same time, we've got good depth at plenty of positions. There's some where we don't as much, and so we don't bat an eye at sending guys in. So you also look at the number of plays, and we calculate that year after year after year. The average plays that we have, I think the last 4 years, the average series number is six plays. So after 6 plays, you really have to this is the time that we really got to see, is it a tempo team? If it's a tempo team, we got to sub. If it's a huddle team, if they're going slower, it's not as bad. So again, all these factors go into whether or not we need to make a change.
Jackson Benny, some big plays against Texas Tech, and we talked about him in our last conversation. I'm probably going to take every opportunity I have to talk about what he's done for this team so far this year. His interception in particular, it felt like he even got his head around maybe late, but just the instincts, the speed, the coordination, he's able to make up for. I don't even know if it was a technical mistake if he did get his head around late. Just watching it in slow motion, it's like, oh, man, this is going to be a completion. And then it's not. It's the opposite. It's an interception. I mean, just if you can, speak to what makes him so good in those moments and in plays like that.
Well, it's something that he's really worked on because, Jackson thinks he can make a play on everything and will look or peek too soon. And he's done a great job. Coach Shaw's coached him up tremendously at, not looking until you've earned the right. And that was a perfect example. Could have used better technique at the line of scrimmage, but he has such tremendous catch-up ability. And sometimes you see 4-4 guys that don't run 4-4. He runs it. And he strains to get to the ball, and he's so competitive. He thinks he can make every play, and for the most part, he's making those plays. He just has a competitive nature about him and a skill set that is special, and he's only scratching the surface of what he can become, in my opinion.
In terms of another excellent individual performer, how do you break down John Henry Daly's win rate and pressure rate? And obviously he's getting to the quarterback and leads the conference in sacks and all that stuff. Because even when he's not sacking the quarterback, it feels like he's a guy who's got, crazy effort. He's pursuing from the backside. How much of that is just inborn stuff? How much of that is his technical improvement under your assistant coaches? Why is he winning at this rate?
It's that same mindset that Jackson has. He is ultra competitive and wants to be the best, and so works at it on his off time. It's a guy that would come into me last year, Coach, will you sit with me and talk to me about my film? Why am I not getting more reps than I'm getting? I feel like I'm the guy, can be the guy. And, okay, let's watch the film. Here are your deficiencies. Here's where you need to improve. And he works his butt off to improve in that. And he's got an unbelievable coach in Lewis Powell. Lewis's track record speaks for itself with those guys. But really it's guys buying into what they're being coached to do and understanding that they don't have all the answers. And we're here to help them out. But unbelievable mindset with that kid, tough as nails, and he's just focused on, here are my strengths and I'm going to perfect them. And so so fired up for him and the progress he's making.
Are those habits coachable for you, or is that something that a teammate or leadership in the locker room kind of has to, hey, I'm going and I'm doing my extra film study. If you want to play like me, you got to be here, because I know you're always encouraging your guys to do the maximum, but what is, I guess, the catalyst for people to be like that?
Self-starters, self-motivators. I can motivate you to something, but, we want to recruit guys that are self-motivated. If you have to rely on someone else to motivate you, be content with mediocrity your entire life. So, the special ones that we've had have been self-starters, have been guys that haven't been told, hey, you got to go compete, you got to go spend extra time. No, they come to us every day. How can I be better? How can I improve? Where am I deficient? They want the feedback, where some guys don't want the feedback. They want to be told how awesome they are. Those self-starters are focused on their deficiencies and that's what you got to recruit.
I'm starting to realize why I never had a great football career. I'm very content in mediocrity, Morgan. You know?
Stop it. Stop it.
All right, before I let you go, a totally non-football question to waste your time and all of our listeners' time. I'm packing a bag to go do this trip, call some fights, and my wife's helping me, and I'm throwing a couple T-shirts in, and the company I wear, the PFL, Professional Fighters League, like, I don't know, 80% of my non-formal wardrobe is now PFL shirts, PFL shorts, PFL sweats, etc. And I imagine for coaches, it gets to be like that. So if you had to put a number on it, how much of your wardrobe is University of Utah branded gear?
70%.
Yeah. That's could be even higher. So I'm proud of you for
Could be.
maintaining that.
Could be.
For elbowing
Could
that
be,
30% of classy wear into there,
Well, I golf, so I got to have some Travis Matthew.
Okay.
And then I go to church, so I got to,
Yeah.
So that would be probably the other 30% is my golf gear and my anyway.
Fair
I
enough.
appreciate you, brother. You take care of yourself. Travel safe. That sounds like a lot of fun.
Yeah, sure. It'll be cool, and I appreciate you accommodating my diva schedule when you're the one who's busy and trying to get this thing right up at the University of Utah. Love you, man. Thank you.
Love you back, brother. Take care.
Morgan Scally, defensive coordinator at the University of Utah. For Coordinator's Corner, brought to you by America First Credit Union, 877-353-0700. Text us and let us know the percentage of your wardrobe that is stuff that you just got for free. It's just work branded, work uniform, whatever. Tell us, 877-353-0700. Big thanks to Morgan Scally, to Junk, and everyone at the University of Utah football for making that interview possible every single week. And, of course, for America First Credit Union hooking us up. Lots more to get to. It's the Sean O'Connell Show on ESPN 700, 92.1 FM.
137 back at it on the Sean O'Connell Show. Time to air some grievances, and you can air yours over on the text-in line at 877-353-0700. Get them in right now, and we'll get to your grievances. Once again, that's 877-353-0700. The airing of grievances begins now on the Sean O'Connell Show. I'm Brice Larson, filling in alongside Jordan Bianucci and James Peterson behind the glass. I don't know if Sean normally starts off himself by airing his own grievances, but Jordan, I know that you have a grievance that you want to get out there, and so I'm going to give you the floor here. Give us the first grievance.
I always have a lot of grievances. My first one was you and I were at the Utah football game last week, and this is not a one-off. We go to the football game. We go to a lot of college football games. The pace of play. And compared to the amount of action on the field at a college football game is out of control. Like, there's a review after every damn play. Plays that don't need to be reviewed. I don't understand why coaches can't have a challenge like they do in the NFL, and then on turnovers and touchdowns, you just automatically review it quickly. We have officials running 70 yards to the other side of the field to look at like a child's iPad on a tripod.
That's so true.
I do not understand it. It is the slowest. Name another sport that has as many delays and just non-action.
I will stand by the take that the adding of the 2-minute timeout to college football was the worst possible thing ever. There's nothing that ruins a game in crunch time, the last 2 minutes of a football game, and the energy inside a stadium more than the 2-minute timeout. A team is driving. Trying to win the game, and the stadium is so loud, and all of a sudden we had the 2-minute timeout, and it's 7 minutes worth of commercials.
And at the end of a half in the fourth quarter, the clock stops on first downs anyway. You don't need another timeout like you do in the NFL sometimes.
Yeah. All right, that's a good grievance. I think a lot of people agree with you. I'm going to go with NFL games ending in field goals for my first one. I told you about this earlier.
It's a really specific grievance.
Anticlimactic. It's awful. What am I watching the first 2 hours of a football game for if I could just turn it on the last 30 minutes and whoever has the ball last wins?
Yeah, you just want a little more diversity in how games are won late in games.
Instead of a 65-yard field goal.
Yeah, especially because of how good these kickers have gotten.
Yeah.
Like, they become too good for there to be drama, even for a 52, 54, 55-yard field goal. It's like, oh, wow, this is a long field goal. Could this go in? Yes, of course it's going in, Kevin Harlan. Like, we already know the ending here because these guys are too good. Yeah, it has made things anticlimactic unless you get a blocked kick and a big defensive tackle running it back for a touchdown at the end. I mean, that certainly was a change of pace.
Which is why that was so exciting last week, because we never get it.
Yes.
Also, the NFL, starting this year, they give the kickers the kicking balls for the whole week now. I guess before this year, they would take them out of the box and give it to them an hour before the game. Yeah. Wow. So they were harder to kick. Why are we making it easier?
We don't need to make it easier.
Guys are just
these kickers.
Putting these things in the microwave all week. They're just
the week before we saw the Denver Broncos lose a football game on a leverage call.
Yeah,
where they were pushing the center down and trying to get up over him.
That was okay though because the Colts won.
There you go. Yeah,
so we're fine.
Right.
That one's
fine. That was a
fine.
little exciting, but maybe they just need to get rid of that penalty so we can make it more exciting. Get guys jumping over the center.
Speaking of the Colts and that, go back and watch. I can't remember which Super Bowl it was, but it's in the 70s. Colts Cowboys in the 70s. I think the Colts won it on a last-second field goal, but they didn't have leveraging back then. Dudes are standing on the shoulders
we got
of
the
other
pyramid
guys.
Over there.
Yes, go watch that. It's incredible.
All right, James, you got a grievance you'd like to air?
Yeah, my legs have a grievance against Coach Wojo, Steve Wojciechowski, who ran the Jazz media training camp on Wednesday.
Okay.
I've been to the last was this my third year, maybe fourth year? And the first 2 or 3, they put you through like a dribbling drill, a shooting drill, and then one of them's like defensive slides where you're like, yeah, I haven't even been sitting down. Like, I've been sitting down. I haven't been doing wall sits or anything like this in years. So this hurts, but it's like 10 minutes of that, right? 5-10 minutes of that. So you're like, okay, that's over. Wojo, fantastic coach. No grievance against him as a coach. I'm sure he's an outstanding person. We were not prepared for half the time doing defensive slides, all right? Like, this is holy cow. So I was not prepared for the media training camp to still be sore from the media training camp, but it had occurred to me that maybe this was their way of being like, all right, media, we're going to weed you out a little bit here. We're going to you guys might be maybe they look at us as like the enemy, so we're going to give you a little payback here because we know you're all out of shape guys who aren't really good at basketball. So
get you on the bench
it had occurred to me that maybe they did this by design, but still grievance, all right? Like I was just trying, I just went there to have a good time, play a little awful pickup basketball and learn how to dribble between my legs. And my legs still hurt, Wojo.
It's for next year when you jackals are in that press room going, why can't you guys play any damn defense? What's the problem? And they're like, oh, it's not so easy, is it?
Yeah, like,
pick them up at half court, please.
It's not the coaching problem now, is it? Is it now? No,
Donovan Mitchell.
Tongue in cheek, like
5'8".
Obviously, it's up their discretion whatever they want to do with this thing. And I actually had heard because I'm like. I went over to Andy Larson, who was there, and I was like, man, this is like way more intense in the last couple of years. He's like, yeah, you should have been here Quinn's first year. He said he was teaching them like real plays. That's Quinn's year. I'm like, all right. And having them do like real sets and like and like guys, and listen, the media training camp, the people who they invite to that and who are regular on the beat, I suppose, and work for internal Jazz media, vast majority of them have not touched a basketball before. So this is like I'm just picturing like, wow, he's trying to run offensive sets with that kind of a group of people would have been like, fun to see.
Hey Quinn, let's start with the layup line.
Yeah.
With some of these guys. All right, let's try the 3-man weave for a little bit.
Last night I'm like stretching out my calf in the middle of the night because I've got like this Charlie horse thing. I'm like, my gosh, Wojo.
All right, I've got a grievance. In the last couple of days, Jordan, as I've walked into work from the parking lot across the way, I've been stalked by many creatures and Star Wars characters, people holding lightsabers, Legolas. If that's how you say it.
Legolas, come on now.
Whatever.
From Lord of the Rings?
Yes.
Okay.
Grievance against you. You're not a Lord of the Rings fan.
That's right. Fanex is in town.
Okay. And what is your grievance?
My grievance is not necessarily that the people are out there. I love the people.
Grievance against the costumes?
They're taking my parking spots. That parking lot is full whenever there's a convention in town. So it's not just Fanex. Any convention that's down the street. The parking lot where we're supposed to park is completely full.
So you're saying you want separate parking for furries and the such characters.
You're putting words in my mouth now. You're putting words in my mouth.
You said...
Who said anything about furries?
No, I believe your quote was, get these freaks out of here. How dare you say that?
I don't remember that coming out of my mouth, but if you say so.
No, tell James, one time we get here to do the 7 a.m. show, and one time at 6:45 in the morning, we look out this giant window. There is a dude in a purge mask, just
a little bit scary,
looking up at Brice, just waving. Scary as hell.
Oh my gosh!
Let me close the curtains real
quick.
It's
dark. It's 6:45 in the middle of winter, and that was
scary.
That was spooky.
Fanex wasn't in town, right?
No,
not that weekend.
Oh,
Turn the lights off.
Gosh!
Roll the windows up. Yeah, no, it's.
See, I would have ceased to exist if that happened to me. You know what? I
go to the back of the building.
What's it? I haven't watched many episodes of this show, but I know that it's a favorite among like horror fans and whatever. If it even is still going, I don't know, but the reruns are everywhere. The Supernatural.
Oh yeah.
The part that I think about every time I look out into my backyard is the killer clown episode where the clown is in the backyard. I've only ever seen a couple episodes of that because horror's not my thing. I get way too scared. I'm a wuss that way. But sometimes at night I look out in the backyard and I'm like, oh, what if there was a clown out there?
Yeah,
that Supernatural episode.
Nope.
Now we've got bunch of drivers and people triggered at work.
There's a cloud out there.
Scared when you unzip the tent when you're camping and you see something. Oh, no.
Yeah, I don't like
Purge
Not
mask
happening.
guy waving
Purge.
at you. I
Scary.
wow.
That was a scary one.
I'm impressed you came back to work, Brice, after that.
We had to get on the air.
Yeah.
What do you think we
Show
opened
had to go on.
our first segment was a live call to the police department.
All right. James, you have another airing of grievance? Jordan, another one you want to share?
That's all I got. Let's see. I think we got a few new texts in the text line.
I do have one more that's very specific.
Go for it.
Okay.
And we can get to some listener.
My wife and I just barely moved. Went to a new apartment. It's beautiful. But the apartment applications have gotten ridiculous. Okay? Specifically, having to link up your banking information to their banking verification software. I don't know if you've ever dealt with this.
I don't think so.
It scans your purchases, and then it also verifies that you're actually getting paid by the company you work for to make sure that they can verify you make enough to live there.
For crying out loud.
Does it really matter? Like, I'm sure they really want to know if I'm swiping the credit card at 3 a.m. out in Wendover at the Beto's.
Yeah.
And maybe that's a personal experience that only I have, in the last couple of months. But do we have to go that far?
That seems like
The
an invasion
banking
of
information?
privacy. Yeah.
Linking up the software on the application, the apartment application?
can't you just look at my bank statements? Why do you gotta?
Can I show you the checks that I get from
Yeah.
the place I work? Would I have to link up the bank account
No, I
so
don't
that you
like
can
it.
see my 3 a.m. purchases in West Wendover?
Yeah, you need a separate credit card for those kind of purchases. There are a lot of purchases that you're going to need a separate. I don't like that.
Sir, why did you take hundreds of dollars out and then subsequently buy a Beto's burrito in Wendover at 4 a.m.?
I was out there doing on business. I get up early. Had to go head to
Is that
Wendover.
a solo experience?
Yeah. Out there.
Am I alone in this?
But why Beto's? No. So
Good place to eat out
few
there.
few listener grievances here, guys. In this new era of the transfer portal, how can Utah not find a quality wide receiver who can actually make an impact? That's a valid grievance, I think.
Yeah.
Absolutely. But certainly something that we've talked about quite a bit. So we can move on quickly from that. Grievance, I love Kyle and he deserves his statue, but as a Ute fan with quarterback PTSD, why does he not seem to put greater priority on quality depth in the quarterback room? Another topic that fans like to talk about here.
Yeah, I think the answer is if he could, he would. I mean, I think that's harder than ever to do because of the transfer portal, is to keep a quality backup.
Well, look at Texas Tech.
That was amazing.
Ammon comes in and he looks better than the starter.
Yeah, that was.
He looked better than Morton.
Yeah, that wasn't a good week for Utah. The loss and the backup quarterback looking better than the starter. Both things look bad for Utah.
And sometimes that happens. I mean, sometimes you have, Texas that has Quinn Ewers and then Arch Manning behind him. And we don't know how good Arch Manning truly is yet because he's looked to struggle early on in his career. But it's a good point. I mean, that shows you money's where it's at, right? If you have the money, you're going to be able to afford two quarterbacks that can both play.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. I mean, if you're a good quarterback and you're like, I'll take a year off and back up a guy for, I don't know how much, hundreds of thousands of dollars, if not a couple million. Who knows?
I think you're going to have to find a true freshman that has a lot of potential that can come in and will say, I'll redshirt 1 year, but then after that, I want the starting job. And you're going to have the money to keep him happy on the bench for a year, to be able to work him into the scheme. And then if anything happens in that first year, you could put him in and he'll win a football game for you.
Yeah.
If not, I think you kind of stuck with the transfer portal way.
Yeah, good luck. But, I mean, really, it's teams are not going to be as deep as they once were.
All right, and then just before we head to a break here, grievance, could we please stop using the word iconic or referring to people as icons? It's losing its meaning. I don't think people know what it means. Yeah, that is definitely an overused word.
Amazing is an overused word. What else? I use
Legendary. How about I've aired this grievance before. How about people using historical and historic wrong?
How do you use those correctly?
Historic is what people are using historical for now, which, like, you hear Dan Patrick is one of the worst at this, and he's a legend. Hey, legendary. But he says he's having a historical season. You know what that means? That means he's having a season. That means that it took part in the history of the game. That's all that means.
Mm-hmm.
Historic means he's having, when you say someone's having a historic season, that means it's truly standing out in the context of history. So it's a truly standout season. Historical just means it happened.
Yeah, I'm with you.
This was a historical show, guys.
Jordan's an English major, and if he agrees with you, I agree with you.
So anyway, that's another one that, like iconic, that started to lose its meaning a little bit, especially when people use it wrong.
All right. There's your airing of grievances. We appreciate you for listening to us complain for the last 30 minutes. Want to remind you to elevate and educate. Come celebrate at Canna Fan Fest Saturday, September the 27th at Granary Live, hosted by Big Buddha, live music, and your Canna Fan Fest ticket is free with your medical cannabis card at cannafanfest.com. Once again, that's cannafanfest.com. We will come back on the other side with topical trivia, your chance at a BGR gift card, and more. That's next on the Sean O'Connell Show on ESPN 700 and 92.1 FM. Okay, time for some topical trivia. Going to get you a gift card to BGR, Burgers Grilled Right, as we finish up the Sean O'Connell Show on a Football Friday edition of the program, and we'll send you into your weekend. Just a reminder, the drive with Porter Larson and Trevor Riley will be live from Tim Daly Southtown in Sandy, coming your way in just a couple of minutes. Right now, I want to remind you, the text-in line is open at 877-353-0700, and that's how you're going to win a BGR gift card if you answer this question correctly. Earlier on in the show, we had Paul Pugmire, Utah Golf Radio, on this program. And he told us about the Ryder Cup and how the teams changed from Great Britain to Europe in a certain year. What year did they change the Ryder Cup teams to feature players from just Great Britain to all of Europe? That answer wins you a BGR gift card on today's topical trivia. And Jordan Bianucci, we learned a lot about golf from one Paul Pugmire.
I always learn a lot about golf from Paul Pugmire. We could have Paul on. We have him usually on our show once. Every time there's a major, we have Paul on. And it's not enough, honestly, because I could talk to Paul for a while.
Oh, yeah, about the history of golf, about everything that goes on. So the Ryder Cup currently continues. Looks like it's on USA right now, which is fitting for Team USA. But Team USA is not looking too good. It seems as they are losing at this moment in time. So we'll keep an eye out on that, and I'm sure Porter Larson and Trevor Riley will also update you on that and more. One more thing. We just aired our grievances, and there was one more, just to throw it out.
Hey, once you start airing grievances, it's hard to stop.
It's like an avalanche. They just keep coming. John Rothstein was in the state of Utah yesterday, and I'm going to call him out here, Jordan. He went to the University of Utah, which is great. Up-and-coming program, Alex Jensen, all this stuff. There's a lot of hype up there on the hill. Mm-hmm. It's great stuff. Utah State, good basketball team. Mm-hmm. Very competitive in the Mountain West Conference. Also went to BYU, and BYU's BYU, whatever's happening there. The one school he didn't stop by, Jordan, the only school that won their regular season conference championship last year, Utah Valley. He was 9 minutes away, and he didn't stop by UVU to go talk to Todd Phillips, the former head coach of Salt Lake Community College. By the way, if you can't tell me, UVU homer. Call their games. The only team that won a regular season conference title last year in the state of Utah. John Rothstein didn't take time to go stop by.
Come on, John. Come on. No Weber State either?
No Weber State. Weber State, he did not make the time to go to Weber.
All right. Well, I have a problem because he tweeted out a picture. He was a half a block from here.
Yeah, he was.
Didn't stop by the studio. Now, I didn't ask him.
But should have tweeted at him. All right. We appreciate you joining us. If you want more of myself, Brice Larson, and Jordan Bianucci, we will be live every single weekday over on our brother station, 103.9 and 98.3 ESPN. The Fan, from 7 to 10 a.m. You can catch our show every single morning on your way to work. We talk a lot about everything over there. Utah football, Utah Jazz, the Utah Mammoth, even BYU and the rest of the sports happening around the state of Utah. Come and join us every single weekday over on 103.9 and 98.3 FM. All right, we'll throw it over to Porter Larson and Trevor Riley, who's live down at Tim Daly Southtown in Sandy for the drive with Spence Checketts. That comes your way next on Utah's #1 sports talk, ESPN 700 and 92.1 FM.